What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Art of War. We have a really exciting video for you today as we're going to discuss the brand new Leagues of Votann Codex Rock and Stone time.
Dude, it has been just the codexes of the two of us, man.
Woo.
It's been Grey Knights, Black Templars, now Votann.
People are hyped on it.
People are hyped. These little dwarfy men, right? They're the latest army to come to the game, and they're really cool.
They're really, really cool. This is only their second codex ever.
Second codex ever. Mm-hmm. We'll see how it stacks up next to one of the more broken codexes of 9th edition. But we'll see. Did they get it right this time?
We are going to find out. We're going to analyze every single rule in this book. We're going to go through the army rule, then the data sheets, and then the different detachments, summarize our thoughts, give you where we think the army might be headed. And then, of course, we're going to have a lot more content related to the new codex in battle reports, in tier lists, all the things you know and love. And I'm just really, really excited to be talking about this new army. If you are joining us, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave a comment below letting us know what you think of the brand new Votann Codex, how you think they're going to fit into the meta. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to see more content like a game with the Leagues of Votann, check out The Worm at theworm.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and on top of that, you get access to our awesome international Discord community where there is a Votann channel. I'm in there. Tim Schneider is in there. There's a lot of great Votann players in there talking Votann all the time, and this is the best time to learn and come up with new ideas.
Absolutely. So I noticed you've got a little pile there. What is that?
Do. These are grudge tokens. And the thing about grudge tokens is they don't exist in this book anymore.
Really?
They do not exist. You do not need these tokens whatsoever. There's a different resource mechanic, but you don't need grudge tokens. However, I personally need grudge tokens. And that's because any of the rules I don't like in this book are going to get a grudgeon. So we're going to slowly build up a little stack over here for anything that I think deserves a grudgeon from Games Workshop.
So are you going to remove if you particularly like a rule?
No.
No, it stays there.
That grudge has to be solved.
That's the Votann way.
I will not relent on that grudge until it is personally and specifically fixed.
You are +1 to hit and wound somebody in Nottingham, right?
Absolutely. So we're going to be doing that little game throughout, and if you enjoy that, definitely let me know. But otherwise, let's dive in here and start off with the army rule.
Okay, so the army rule has changed quite a lot. I mean, dramatically.
Entirely.
Just a different rule now. It's called prioritized efficiency. So, Leagues of Votann units from your army have one of two abilities, either Hostile Acquisition or Fortified Takeover. And which ability you have depends on the amount of yield points you currently have access to. Mm-hmm. At the start of the battle, you get Hostile Acquisition until the start of your next command phase. And then if at the end of your command phase you have fewer than 7 yield points, your units still have Hostile Acquisition. And if you have 7 yield points or more, you get Fortified Takeover. So if you have a float of 7 or more, you're in Fortify Takeover. Anything less than that, you switch into Hostile Acquisition. Now, what do those mean? Hostile Acquisition, every time a model in this unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit within range of 1 or more objective markers, add 1 to the hit roll. And you can reroll advance and charge rolls made for this unit. Mm-hmm. Okay, so help you get up the board, help you attack objectives better. But when you're in Fortify Takeover, you've taken over those objectives, and you just need to defend them. So you get +1 to hit, while your model is within range of an objective now. And if an enemy attack targets you, if you are not a vehicle and the strength is higher than your toughness, you are -1 to be wounded.
So it's kind of like taking the Hearthguard debuff and just saying, all right, cool. The army for all these infantry units and mounted units that we have are going to be significantly more durable than otherwise.
Yes. So this is interesting. Right? Before, you basically needed judgment tokens on things in order to do relevant damage. Mm-hmm. Right? The way to think of it isn't that a unit with 2 judgment tokens on it dies for free. It is a unit with 2 judgment tokens takes, like, you are now a relevant army shooting at that thing. So we'll have to see how some of these change to reflect the fact that you won't be +1 to hit and wound on as many targets.
Yeah.
Now, once you have switched into Fortify Takeover, your +1 to hit is much, much more in your control, because you can drive a vehicle onto an objective and now get +1 to hit when you shoot off of it. And that's much easier to control. So
you can split fire there, so you're still +1 to hit against everything. So it'll be a little bit easier, especially in the early game, where previously you would have very few tokens on your opponent, just mostly the starting ones. Now, if your opponent rushes at you, you're like, okay, well, if I can get to go ahead and get a bunch of yield points early on, I can actually attack them. So let's see how they're actually manufactured.
Yep. So at the end of each player's command phase, not just yours, you gain 1 yield point if you control 1 or more objective markers in your deployment zone. So fairly reasonable. You're going to get a yield point every turn unless you're getting absolutely bodied. And then from the second battle round onward, you gain 1 additional yield point for each of the following conditions you satisfy. 1, you control 1 or more objective markers not within your deployment zone. 2, you control 2 or more objective markers not within your deployment zone. And 3, you control more objective markers than your opponent. This is actually super easy because you score them at the end of each player's command phase, not just yours. So let's say you're playing a standard game of 40k where both players are like sitting back, right? You get 2 in the first battle round because you hold your deployment zone objective in the first turn and then in your opponent's turn. And then you walk onto objectives on the second, for the second battle round, and you control 3. That's 3 points at the start of your opponent's turn. And then your opponent shoves you off the middle but doesn't attack your expansion. Suddenly, now you're at 7, right? And now you have Fortified Takeover. And Fortified Takeover is much better than Hostile Acquisition. It's worth getting to.
Generally, there's very few ways still, even in this book, to advance and do things. There are a couple. There's more than previously in the index, but it isn't like the army is advancing shooting. There's no detachment that's like that. So you're not getting a huge amount of benefit from reroll advances. Charges, there are some detachments that benefit a lot from that, where you're trying to charge a bunch of things, but this army still is more heavily leaning towards shooting than combat, and with that, advance and, if you don't have advance and shoot, that's not really as relevant as -1 to wound.
Yes. This also benefits going second a pretty decent amount.
Yep.
Because if you push out on bottom of 1 and you take the center with just like some dude, right? Whatever. Hearthkyn warriors, who cares?
Yep.
And then you take your expansion on bottom of 1, then you get 4 yield points at the top of the next turn. So this is a naturally leaning towards second turn mechanic, which is interesting.
So overall, a very interesting change. What do we lose? We lose the starting 4 judgment tokens from Oathband, where you're going to get +1 to hit, +1 to wound against your opponent as they kill your units. So something without a judgment token kills a first unit, it's going to get 1 for +1 to hit, and then if they kill a second unit, they would get +1 to wound. We no longer have that mechanic. And without access to +1 to wound from the army rule, some of the weapons, we're going to have to look at their profiles and see if we're going to be able to punch up more consistently into big targets, because the +1 to wound is a huge part of doing that.
Yes.
+1 to hit is pretty much replaced in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it might be a bit worse. And then there's no there's no command points when you kill one of these targeted units. So there's no boon of like early game +3 CP that could happen, but there are going to be other ways to get access to some CP. So overall, I feel like this is a much more complex army rule. I think previously, and we had said this a bunch of times, and there's actually a really funny anecdote with Brian Jones about this, which I'll talk in a second, but Votann was pretty vanilla as an army.
Yes.
They didn't have a lot of complexity. They had mostly relied on good data sheets and a good detachment/army rule, and that was kind of it. You didn't have a ton of creative, tricky things. You didn't have a lot of layered rules where you had to plan out your turn in a very extensive way. It was just, okay, I'm pre-measure here, here's my plan, execute, roll some dice, done. There wasn't layers to it. This has a lot of layers to it.
Yes, and it encourages you to relentlessly go for objectives and continue to play for objectives, which is the same sort of thing you want to do in 40k anyway, right? You want to be going for objectives. They're naturally synergistic with how 40k plays. Previously, it was an army that just got by on high toughness and scout. And that was like a big part of why the army was good, was that everything scouted and everything was really high toughness. And then if you were tough, you could just be +1 to hit and wound into like the 1 or 2 things that were tough. So you could go aggressive off that, you could play defensive off that, but that was what you had. And that's kind of it.
Yeah. This, on the other hand, is rewarding you for playing an active game of 40k, and there's a lot more flexibility in what type of rules you get access to throughout the game. And we're going to see it as we get into the detachments and some of the other rules. There are multiple ways to manipulate yield points to try and, if I really do want to get reroll charges, for instance, all right, I got to make 3 charges this turn. That's going to win me the game. Oh, I'm in Fortified Takeover. How do I get back to the hostile one? Oh, well, there are going to be ways to potentially spend yield points. And you might be thinking, well, what if I have 1 billion yield points? What if I get 7+ and I'm just sitting there? There are going to be ways to spend them elsewhere. So it's an active mechanic, not just through the army rule and trying to generate them for that purpose, but also, as we're going to see in the detachments, there are ways to make stratagems and other rules like enhancements better. And
I will say, Fortified Takeover is significantly better than what Hostile Acquisition.
Yes.
Because I anticipate early game, previously what would happen is you'd mark the biggest things in your opponent's army, and then whatever was the toughest to kill, you would just shoot to death, right? But now you can't do that. So if you're playing into knights, canny knight opponents are going to be walking nonsense onto objectives or armigers or whatever. And then their big knights are going to be standing just off of the objectives early game to try and limit the amount of damage you can do. So as soon as you get into Fortify Takeover, they don't get to control when you get the +1 to hit anymore.
Yep, that's in your control. I'm just going to drive. Oh, you're standing there near the objective? Cool. Drive up here. I'm going to shoot you at max efficiency, and I'm still on the objectives. Yes. So I definitely think the rush towards that is going to be pretty important.
Yes.
Like I mentioned, there'll be some ways to do that. So let's go ahead and dive into the data sheets, and then we'll get into the detachments. All right, so we're starting off here with Uthar the Destined. I have freshly painted that man up. I have never put him on the table before, and
he was
I had never painted
really bad.
him. He was really quite bad. However, he is finally very good, and I think you will actually see him, hence me painting him up. So what changes? Well, his profile is the same as before. He's still T5. He's got his 5 wounds, 4 up invuln. All that's cool. His Vulcanite is still the same as it was before. And the big change here is his datasheet rule. Ancestral Fortune has changed to once per turn, you can spend 1 yield point instead of just getting a free one. You can spend a yield point to flip a die for a hit, wound, or a saving throw for himself to make it a 6.
Okay.
Which means there's one additional way to manipulate or potentially get, switch back to the hostile. But his real rule that changed is Grim Efficiency. Previously, he used to be reduce all damage down to 1. That was cool.
That's neat.
Made him annoying and durable to kill, but frankly, that wasn't what we needed. Now, what he does is once per battle round for a friendly Leagues of Votann unit within 12, if they are targeted with a stratagem, he can reduce the CP cost.
Oh boy.
That is effectively, if you keep him alive, 5 free CP. Something that Votann previously were mostly getting through killing a judged token early on. Now, you can just have it on a wide variety of units. This is a huge change. There's some very, very good stratagems in here, and Votann previously had 2 CP strats. There's still, like, Hearthband, for instance, the Grotmist Detachment has a 2 CP +1 damage in combat strat. 2 CP, pretty pricey to spend consistently. Not when Uthar is nearby.
No. We have seen that sort of CP reduction mechanic on a lot of things, right? We have it on Guilliman, you got it on the Hive Tyrant, you got it on the Demon Prince, right? But what do those things have in common? They're all monsters, right? They're big boys. And Uthar is not.
He's not.
He is not.
He's big in heart. Not as much on the table.
I'm sure he's big in a lot of ways, but he is a small little man on the table, and he comes with small little man cost, and he is much easier to hide, and it's just a much more surgical tool for that job, right? I'm going to get 5 extra CP, and I don't have to spend for, Guilliman in order to do it.
Yep, so he is going to come in at a cool 95 points, so a bit more expensive than he is in the index, but frankly, for the rule upgrade, I will happily pay that points increase because I now think that he will be pretty vital to a lot of archetypes, especially the detachments with 2 CP stratagems that you want to use often.
95 for that is pretty nuts.
And then he himself he's just a good beater. You can put him in the warrior squad and have him, stand in there with the Rampart crest. Although warriors have changed a little bit that we'll get into. So the Rampart crest isn't as good as it was previously. You could still put him in Hearthguard. But overall, I think he's excellent at 95 points. And I plan to play him.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Buri Aegnirssen is the new named character.
This guy.
I also painted him up. He's going to come in at a cool 110 points. But he has a lot of very, very good rolls. So he's a bit more expensive than Uthar. He's T6. He has a 3-up save, 4-up invuln, 5 wounds. He and Uthar have leadership 6+, something that previously Votann only had on the Grimnyr. Yeah.
Okay.
So Votann does have some leadership 6 stuff, which is fantastic. And now his weapon, he has a garbage bolt pistol, that doesn't matter. But he has a cool weapon called Bane, and it has a strike and a sweep. The strike profile has precision. It's 5 attacks hitting on 2s, strength 12.
What?
AP 3, flat 3.
Dude, that guy got hands.
He's got Bane, okay?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
And then his sweep profile is 10 attacks hitting on 2s, strength 6, AP 2, 1 damage. So it can also go in and blender in a little infantry unit pretty quickly as well. He is a lone operative, and he has stealth. So he's annoying to kill, and he's a lone op. Previously, Votann did not have access to lone operatives.
It's a huge deal for an army because
It's a major.
one lone op is infinitely more lone ops than 0. And I know that sounds obvious, but like what it means is when your army has a lone op, you have an entirely different dimension to be able to play the game than if you have 0 lone ops. You can hold an objective in the open and force your opponent to come forward. It's a massive deal, right? World Eaters had 0 access to lone ops. They got the Demon Prince, who I imagine is a little more expensive than Buri.
He's 110.
He's 110, yes. World Eaters got access to the Demon Prince, and having access to a lone op there was like transformative for the army. I imagine the same is going to be for Votann.
Let's look at his 2 rules. So he has Grudge-Fueled Fortitude. The first time the model is destroyed, at the end of the phase, on a 2-up, he's going to stand back up with his full wounds remaining outside of engagement range. Lone ops that stand back up.
With full wounds remaining, huh?
Full wounds.
Full wounds.
Extremely good.
Yes.
Extremely good.
That is very, very good.
That rule would be enough to convince me that this guy is a badass plus Bane. But he also has a second rule, which is in your opponent's shooting phase, each time an enemy unit shoots him and he loses 1 or more wounds, he can make a Vengeance move, which is a Blood Surge move. And he rolls a d6 and adds 2 to it, and he can just Blood Surge into you.
Yeah, I think they realized D6 Blood Surges were not the way.
Not consistent.
Because now we're like 4 Blood Surges that they're D6 plus 2 deep, something like that. Wow, that's pretty good. Are there any detachments that have reactive moves?
There is a couple of them. There's a couple ones.
I will tell you, as a guy who has abused stand back up lone ops with a reactive move in the past, that is a very scary thing because you bleed your opponent of resources every single turn. And then if they do commit to try to kill him, he stands back up and holds the objective anyway. But Blood Surge, that's intriguing.
That's very interesting. Because you don't really want to, like, your skirmish units definitely don't want to tango with this guy. And then if you put something real, he could still just kill that too. Yeah,
5 attacks. 5 attacks isn't the best, but like good enough for a lot of things he's tussling with.
Mm-hmm. Especially if it's wounded. So
he's OC1, right?
He's only OC1.
Okay,
so he does have an OC weakness.
Very unlikely to take an objective back off like 5 scouts or something because you have to hit and wound with everything. But what am I looking for here? This guy's crazy.
He's going to force you to keep doing it.
Yes, he's going to force you. He will kill the scouts by himself and then ask for an answer.
He's a great thing to hang by your 5 warriors that are holding their objective. Your opponent is like, okay, I got to charge these guys off, take it away. And he's just like, all right, I'm going to heroic in there and threaten just murder you.
Yep. He just chips wounds constantly, and he'll chip wounds off of everything because he's strength 12. Yeah, this guy's great. And if he ever blood surges into something and swings on it, it could just be dead, right? Especially if you're willing to spend a CP reroll. And otherwise, like, all right, well, it's not going to be very healthy by the time it comes back around to your turn.
He's a set of tools that Votann never had previously in 10th edition. I think he's excellent. He's an excellent add. He is, in my opinion, like the best model to add to this army. We're going to look at a variety of them, but like as a character, he adds so many different tools we never had that I'm so excited about it.
Oh yeah, big fan of this guy. This guy, Uthar, 10 out of 10s.
Next up is the Kahl. So this is the generic kind of captain equivalent. He's still the same type of defensive profile. He's 5 wounds. He's T5, 4 wounds, 4 up invuln.
4 wounds?
Yep, 4 wounds.
Oh, Kahl. Interesting.
Yep. And then he has his same type of weapons. Main thing that's going to change here for him is his previous ability on his datasheet was to give out a judgment token to something that he saw in the command phase.
Well, obviously that's not how this works now.
It was a terrible rule. It was never used. He was never seen. So what does it change to? Well, once per phase, one model from your army with this ability can use it when its unit destroys an enemy unit. If it does, you gain 1 yield point. So that means if his unit is doing some amount of killing, this could be in shooting phase, combat, doesn't matter. It could be on Overwatch. You can actually, it's another way to gain yield points.
Interesting. I mean, it could get you over a break point. I think getting 1 extra yield point is very important because otherwise the soonest that you can get to 7 is on turn 3, which isn't ideal. You'd really like to get there on turn 2, or at least have a good float to spend stuff. And having 1 extra yield point will get you to that 7 float faster.
He still gives his unit lethal hits. The main units he's going to join are Hearthguard, of course, and the Warriors. So we'll really have to look at those to see how efficient he's going to be, because lethal hits was kind of an anti-synergy with the Hearthguard previously, because you wanted to try and access as many dev wounds as possible, but now potentially it could be better. He's going to come in at 70 points, so he's staying at the exact same cost. He's a bit better because his rule actually does something, his second role, but he really relies heavily on how good are the units he leads.
Yeah, this feels a lot more inefficient than the previous characters. 70 points, you have to put in the work to kill a unit, and then he gets you a singular yield point. Feels a little... Nah, right? But we'll see. We'll see what kind of abilities. Like, you might be scrabbling for all the yield points you can possibly find to feed into various abilities.
Absolutely. At least he does something unique that's going to potentially be important. So Grimnyr is up next. He is the same defensive profile as well. He's got his 4 wounds, 4 up invuln. He still has his little Corv buddies that hang around, and he stayed at T5. Same exact weapon with his Ancestral Wrath, his psychic weapon. Still can overcharge for the 6 shots, strength 6, AP 2, D3 damage. And he still has his garbage little staff. But his abilities have changed. So Fortify is the psychic ability he has, and it used to be that he gave his unit +1 toughness. And he can only lead warriors, so giving warriors T6 was just not that impactful. In this one, while he is leading a unit, he gives them 5 up Pain, which I also believe is just not that relevant. It used to be relevant when you could run the warriors in 20 body units, but at 10 body units that you want to split with Sagitaurs, it's not really that amazing, frankly.
I'm kind of surprised that we see this, to be honest with you. They've been removing Feel No Pain from like all of the codexes. If you've seen it, Death Guard, Emperor's Children, Black Templars, and World Eaters were previously like the 4 most Feel No Pain-y armies in the game, and they removed almost all of them, if not all of them, right? Only a couple characters have the Feel No Pain in those, and that's it. You can't give them to units, really. So the fact that they have a character in here that just gives Feel No Pain to a unit, yes, it's unfortunately not on units you're actually going to want to take Feel No Pain on, which...
If you could go in Hearthguard or something like that, or one of the more modern units, or Thunderkyn, I would definitely think about it. But here, making my warriors that much more defensive doesn't really feel like it should be a main ability.
Also, Toughness 6 actually would have been a lot more relevant than it was before with the -1 to wound. Because once you get to Toughness 6, -1 to wound, there is just no real efficient way to wound them on 3s anymore. You are just wounding them on 4s unless you want to fire las cannons at them, which you are not doing.
Yeah. So a little bit of a miss there, honestly, but it's not really the end of the world because we weren't really taking him to lead units anyway. He was mostly taken as a little cheap support character, just to put some ablative 4-up invulns in there with the 2 Corvs, and he himself has a second rule, which is that once per battle at the start of any phase, he can pick a friendly Votann unit within 12, and they're no longer battle shocked. And previously, Votann really struggled with battle shocks because there were very few things that were leadership 6 or had any way to manipulate it. They're still going to be pretty susceptible to it, but at least you have a couple more units that are lead 6 if they're led by some of these characters. And Unbattle Shock is very matchup dependent, so I think he's still going to be a niche pick.
Yeah, I mean, he has a gun.
And he stays at 65.
I think the gun is the best part of him, to be honest with you.
For sure.
As it was in the past.
For sure. Although his unit, the Warriors, as we get to, have changed a bit, and he previously relied on their Ignore Cover ability with his AP2.
Well, that's not that's not good.
So he stays at his 65 points, which is perfectly reasonable. Let's go on into a brand new character, the Memnyr Strategist.
The what now?
He's a Memnyr Strategist. He is a little robot that kind of reprograms the Ironkin units.
Okay, all right, baller, let's go.
So he has a completely garbage bolt pistol and a non-existent combat weapon. Awesome. So he does no damage whatsoever.
He's a programmer, all right? Programmers not well known for their fighting abilities.
There's no
ability to
fisticuffs.
post up and throw hands.
And he can be attached to the new Ironkin Steeljacks, both the shooting and the combat versions. So let's see what he does here. Computation Mastermind. The end of your command phase before you determine if units from your army have hostile acquisition or fortified takeover, the army rule. For each objective marker you control that has one or more models with this ability within range of it, you can spend 1 yield point or gain 1 yield point.
Oh, see, that's much better than the call.
Mm-hmm.
Because the call, you have to like go out, kill something, and his whole purpose is like, what is my purpose? You generate 1 yield point. Oh my god! But this guy can just stand there and just
gather them up, and it is just an objective that you control. It doesn't say no man's land. You can have it on your home objective,
and this is from turn 1.
End of your command phase.
So you could just generate an extra 1 on turn 1.
Yes.
Easy. All right. Get to 7 on turn 2. We're chilling.
So I think he's very good. Now he's 45 points, so he's also ludicrously cheap
yes.
for a little guy. It makes sense. He doesn't do any damage. But his second role, Predictive Guidance. Once per battle round, this model can use this ability. If it does, you can target this unit with a Fire Overwatch or Heroic Intervention for 0 CP. It is the thing that Games Workshop seems to be shoving into every new book. However, in the previous books that we saw, there was very little synergy with this. And there's going to be multiple synergies here that we will get to.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
There are more ways to use this than it's not a complete meme, is basically what I want to say.
Yeah, free Overwatches and free Heroics is like a fun little quiz show game, right? Like, oh, did you know my unit has another ability? And they're like, oh my God, really? And you're like, it's just free Heroic, free Overwatch. I'm like, okay, fine.
The Overwatch, there are going to be a couple different units that we'll get to that significantly benefit, and it'll not surprise you one bit that it is the Steeljacks.
Oh, okay.
With the guns. So when we get to them, I'll explain the full combo, but then there are also some other stratagem type abilities that help further.
If it's a unit that you actually want to use those strats on, then it's good. Just usually you can't predict exactly which unit's going to want to do it, so... but gathering the extra yield point is great, and 45 points is very, very cheap.
Very cheap. And at 45 points, generic character, he can absolutely start taking enhancements, and he's a very good caddy for something that just wants to be in your backfield.
That's true. That's true.
Then we have the Arkanyst Evaluator. He is a mad scientist with a big gun.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're getting crazy, Jack.
Yeah, I'm ready for this.
Are you ready for this? Because
this
this gets a little crazy. So he's going to come in at 75 points, so a bit more expensive than the other generic characters that we have seen thus far. And he has a gun called the Transmatter Inverter. All right. It has 3 different profiles.
Okay.
The first one is Rapid Fire 1, 12-inch range, 3 shots that hit on 2s. All of them hit on 2s. All of them are Strength 8. AP 1 on this one, 1 damage. That doesn't sound impressive.
That sounds terrible.
That sounds terrible, and it is terrible.
How many shots is it? 3 shots?
3 shots on that. Rapid Fire 1.
Okay.
Now, full charge. Second version. Hazardous. Rapid Fire 2.
Oh, okay.
18-inch range.
Okay.
Still 3 shots. Still hits on 2s. 8. Strength.
Right.
AP 2.
Okay.
Flat 2.
Okay. I want to see Overcharge. Let's go.
Overcharge.
Hit me with that Overcharge.
Hazardous. Overcharge ability, which we'll get to in a second. Rapid Fire 3.
Okay.
24-inch range.
Got it.
3 shots. Hits on 2s, Strength 8, AP 3, Flat 3.
Okay, that's much better. That's 6 shots that hit on 2s at 12-inch range at 833. That is a good gun. Now, what does Overcharge mean?
Each time the bearer takes a hazardous test for this weapon profile, -2 to the result.
So you fell on 1, 2, or 3.
Yep. He has 4 wounds, thankfully, so he doesn't just die if you roll one of those. However, let's look at his actual abilities. Resource Transmutation. Once per turn, in your shooting phase, 1 model with this ability, so you can't spam 3 of them and get all of them.
Okay, it's going to be a good ability. That's usually what this means.
If you do this, you must spend 1 yield point, and until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by that model have sustained 1. So he's Rapid Fire 3, so effectively 6 shots in 12 inches.
I'm sensing an and in here.
Sus 1, and after that model has shot this phase, if 1 or more enemy units were destroyed by those attacks, you gain 2 yield points. You spend 1 to gain 2, and you murder something.
Okay, all right, that seems pretty good. So you bank 1 if you get the kill. First off, you get sustained, which is good. Mm-hmm. It means on average you get 100% return on investment. But that's not usually how it works. It's usually roll like 2 6s or 0 6s. But if you bank 1, you get a little better, and if you kill the target, you get 2.
Yes.
Okay.
And then his other rule, Science Guild Support, is while the model is within 3 of any other friendly Leagues of Votann infantry units, excluding Lone Ops, this model has the Lone Op ability. So he can hang out near your stuff. Good
thing they excluded Lone Ops, because otherwise what would be happening
is Buri.
This boy would have his 3 friends, and they would just be around him and unshootable. So that's neat. Even so, that's a very good ability.
There is a detachment that buffs him and some other units in particular, and there are very easy ways to get reroll 1s to hit. And he hits on 2s.
Okay, so hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s with sustained. He's burning the candle at both ends, right? He's going to be dead before the game is out if he shoots every turn.
He's a murder machine.
But that's not really the point. The point is you will get at least 2 guaranteed activations with him, and that's usually enough.
And he's a potential way to stack up. Maybe you'll use him in the early game to kill your opponent's 5 scouts or whatever on the objective. so that you get an extra yield token out of it.
And because they're lone ops, if they're within 3 inches of a unit that can just be behind a wall, they can shoot onto the center objective, and your opponent would have to reach really far out to go deal with them. So that's interesting. That's a very interestingly designed unit. I love that.
Yep. He's a generic character, so you can absolutely take enhancements on him, so we'll definitely look at that. But as usual, he's a 5-inch moving T5 unit. He's a 3-up save, the 4 wounds, and he's at 75 points. So I think he's quite interesting.
Yep. There's I'm very happy they decided not to make him in the shock attack gun mech mold, where he shoots from just 72
yard, and he can get 1 billion strength and stuff. He's designed to kill infantry units.
He's designed to kill infantry units, and he's designed to be up close. So I see 2 ways that you use him. One, you have a little firing battery, and when your opponent moves onto the center, you just clear the center, and your opponent can't really interact with you, which is fine, right? That's fine. The other way is you take 3 of them, you put them in transports alongside units, and the transports run up the board, and then on your go turn, they all just get out and start shooting at units close to them.
You might be shocked, Jack, that there's going to be a detachment that does exactly that in very interesting ways.
That is good to hear.
There is some synergy. So next up is the Brokhyr Iron Master. He remains exactly the same with his Ironkin assistant and his 3 little ECOG friends. I didn't mention this with the Corvs, but the balance update that happened recently in the summer that allowed ECOGs and Corvs to not take up space in transports has continued in the Codex. So that is still not a problem. Our transport capacity is much better because of that. And we'll see some of the other changes in a second when we get to the land fort. So Brokhyr guild support if he's within 3 inches of a friendly Leagues of Votann vehicle or Ironkin Steeljacks unit, he becomes a lone op. Votann are now
a lot of that around.
Are flush with lone ops now. Yeah. Previously, rule was not there.
Could not find one for love nor money, but now
very
5. It's crazy.
It's quite good. His rule has changed. Previously, it was +1 to hit if he was leading a unit. Now, each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack, you reroll wounds of 1, and he doesn't have to be leading to benefit from it.
Okay. Question.
Yes.
He is a unit, right? He is lone op.
Yes.
Does he himself need to be within range of within 3 of the unit?
While this unit is within 3 of 1 or more friendly.
Oh, Okay, so what you can do with this 5 model
as long
unit,
as it's not attached.
As long as it's not attached, sure.
Yep.
But it's a 5 model unit. And so what that means is you can string it way out and touch an objective and keep it safe from back. Now, the thing you need to worry about is if you do that, right, and an opponent walks up and hucks a grenade at them, you need to make sure that you don't pull out of lone op, but that should be pretty easy. But that is crazy. You can string way out and touch an objective with lone op.
There's a lot more creative ways to potentially defend an objective, which is quite cool. And this really helps against indirect fire. Previously, you were just at the mercy of indirect fire for whatever was standing there. You'd have to sticky objectives to try and hold it. Now you can just use lone ops to do it.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
And then his last rule is it's Forge Wrought Expertise. At the end of your movement phase, this unit can repair a friendly Leagues of Votann vehicle, exoframe, or now a Steeljack unit within 3 inches. It's normally D3. If the Ironkin assistant is alive, it's going to be flat 3. And you can only target a single unit once per turn with this type of ability.
Okay. I will say, reroll 1s to wound and repairing vehicles is okay.
It's okay. Previously, he was the main type of character that you would run in the WTC style list of Votann, and that was because he would hold a very important enhancement of Brazen Glare to give out tokens. And so there's probably going to be something similar, and he, along with the Memnyr Strategist, are going to be 2 options for holding that.
I will say that you have the 2 best characters in the book so far, both epic heroes, so they cannot hold enhancements. You do have a 45-point little dork who can sit on your objective and get you
Robot
yield
man.
points. Yes. A little nerd who can get you yield points, so you're not really hurting for that role either. So,
but at least this guy can be a lone op hanging around.
For sure, yes.
And then he also can still join his Thunderkyn, and we're going to look at Thunderkyn to see how impactful he is going to be in that. And then he can join the Warriors as well, which was basically never done. But it does add a bunch of ablative wounds in there if you want it.
And if you need to staple an enhancement to a unit of Thunderkyn, then he's your man.
So there's no way to double up any characters here, which is something that a lot of books have gotten, but Votann don't have that. So there's no way to put one of these guys in with a different character who could help out.
Yeah, they don't really have a lieutenant sort of deal, right? They have calls, and then they have specialized leaders.
Yep. All right, now we are going into the Brokhyr Thunderkyn. previously a unit I didn't like that much. Relatively slow. Its guns were okay, although they started to become more relevant the more vehicles that were in the meta.
Are there vehicles in this meta right now?
A lot of them. But a lot of the rules here for the Thunderkyn have changed. It's basically a new data sheet. So let's look at it. Still moves 5 inches, T6, 3-up save, but no longer 3 wounds. It is a 2-wound model.
What?
Now.
Wait, what? I thought for sure you were going to say 4 wounds.
They lost a wound, which is very surprising to me. And it's going to be the very first judgment.
You did say this unit was good. So.
The unit is good, but I don't like that.
Yes, it's weird. They're so chunky. Why are they 2 wounds?
It's a big, chunky unit. It's huge. It's one of our largest infantry models. I don't understand why. It's basically a Gravis Marine body. And the unit is
a little 4 in there. You sure it's a little 2?
It is a 2. The unit is going to stay 80 points for 3, 160 for 6.
Okay, so it got a lot more fragile because 2 wound bodies. I don't care your toughness 6. 2 wound bodies just disappear at light speed. 3 wound bodies require either a dedicated resource or a couple of things, and it was tough to get through them quickly.
Yeah,
but theoretically, you could be -1 to wound, which helps a lot against the sort of things that scoop up 3 wound bodies quickly at toughness 6. So there is that.
There is that. So that's the one negative here. A lot of the other stuff is going to be buffs, which is good. So bolt cannons, and we're going to see this throughout the book. They previously were a sustained 1 weapon. Every bolt cannon in this book is sustained 2.
Oh boy.
So there's sustained 2 here, 36-inch range. There's one of the longest range guns that Votann have access to. Still 3 shots per guy. Ballistic skill 4+. Strength 6. AP 1. 2 damage.
+1 strength heavy bolters, sustained hits 2. Not bad, but I will say heavy bolters not exactly ripping up the meta right now. Ignores cover would go a long way on this, and they don't have that?
There's
a question mark at the end
There's
of that.
A question mark. They do not have it natively.
Okay. Getting that would be very helpful.
So the one thing here is that they compete with the vehicle bolt cannons, which are one of the most consistent and best weapons that Votann had previously because they were twin-linked and often could ignore cover.
Yes.
So let's look at the other weapon options first. Graviton Blast Cannon. This was the main one that you would see, and it was D6 Blast previously.
It is a blast cannon.
It is no longer blast.
It's a blast cannon.
It's 3 shots every time.
This is a flavor fail.
No blast. But it gained anti-monster vehicle 3+. It lost anti-vehicle 2+, but it gained monster 3+, and still is anti-vehicle 3+.
What else is it? Because that's bad.
It gained 6 inches of range, so
that's
it's no
good.
longer 18, it's 24, which is a huge deal.
Yes.
One of the reasons that I didn't like this unit was hard to mobilize them. You'd have to kind of rapid them down, move them up, and 18 inches just wasn't far enough. Moving 5 with 24-inch range, we're probably getting where we need to be.
Yep, and it lets you be in a safer position so that decreased durability, you now get to position them in a place where they're a little harder to hit, and maybe that washes.
The other major change here is, so it remains Strength 5, remains AP 2, but it goes to flat 3 damage.
Okay, that's pretty big, yeah.
So I think that this is a net buff for the Graviton Blast Cannon.
So in summary, it's 3 shots.
Yep, less shots overall.
Anti-vehicle, 3+.
And monster.
Was it that before?
No, it was anti-vehicle 2+.
So anti-monster vehicle 3+, 3 shots at 5, 2, 3.
It gets to flat 3.
The flat 3 is huge there.
It's a very good profile.
Yeah, it probably is a net buff. That probably is.
I think it's a net buff.
Yeah.
It's not quite as swingy as it was previously, although you should get more shots on average. But the extra damage and the ability to actually do anything into monsters helps a lot.
24-inch range also cannot.
Like something like demons, you would just be like, oh, I have Graviton, cool, this does nothing. Now, it will punch.
Yes. 24 is what you need to like hit vehicles that aren't like running you down, that are being staged in like a reasonable place. In order to hit them, you can't 18-inch range. It's just not enough for that.
It's not enough. Next up is the Conversion Beamer. This is the third option. It still has a conversion rule. And then it gained lethal hits. It's no longer sustained D3.
Okay.
It's 2 shots now instead of 1. Still hits on 4s. Strength 7. AP 2. So it gains an AP here. And it goes to flat 3 damage. Or I believe it was.
Yeah, I think it already was flat 3. Because I took a look at them in the past and I was like, nope.
It gained an AP, which definitely helps. 24-inch range. And then conversion is for each time the weapon makes an attack. If the enemy unit's not within 12 inches, unmodified hit roll of 4+ is a crit hit, which means you lethal on those.
Okay. Yeah, these guns feel like they have a little bit more working with them than you did prior. Prior is like you just had the stats and you just shot with them. Now it feels like if you can layer some buffs, you can actually like blow some vehicles apart, which is pretty good.
And there is going to be a way to give them sustained and reroll ones to hit. So you can do some nasty things with the conversion beamer if you have both sustained lethals. Every 4-up is a crit.
That's pretty big.
Now their rule used to be Overwatch on 5+.
Whee!
Now their rule is in your shooting phase after this unit has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks. Until the start of your next shooting phase, that enemy unit cannot benefit from cover. So this unit is now 100% vital because, spoiler alert, Panspectral Scanner is no longer going to ignore cover, which was our main way to do so. You have to have Thunderkyn in your list now.
Yes, you just have to.
So 3 units of them is pretty much going to be stock standard. If you haven't built and painted these guys, start doing it literally right now as you watch the rest of the review because they are going to be that vital to how the army operates. Now there's both benefits and downsides. The downside of this is they're in every list, so they're always going to guarantee take up a certain amount of points. You don't really have an option. You kind of have to run them for a lot of weapons. But they are going to, and also the other downside is that they kind of want the buff themselves, and the debuff only happens after they've activated. Yes. So you probably want to have 2 3-mans and 1 6-man, maybe 2 6-mans, 1 3-man, but you want a way to proc the ignores cover for the bigger squads that you might take.
Is it any model in the unit can proc it when it shoots?
Yeah, after this unit shots, you pick an enemy unit hit by one or more of the attacks.
One or more. So you can split fire and choose. Ironkin in there, you can put like some of the derpy like ECOG guns into something else and give ignores cover.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's interesting. Yes, this army so far sounds very low AP. This is the first time I'm seeing these data sheets.
Most armies are. Most armies are AP 2 or less.
Most armies are AP 2 or less. But this army specifically with like bolt cannons and conversion beamers
and autocannons.
Autocannons, it's all AP 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. And that gets gutted by cover. And you can't, and cover's everywhere in 10th edition. You just have cover for existing. For existing, right? If you don't know the cover rules, it's safer to assume that you just do have cover rather than assuming you don't, is usually how this works. So you need some way to ignore cover if you're an AP 1 or 2 army, and this is it. So take it.
Now, the last thing I want to mention about the Thunderkyn is that their rule to strip cover, it lasts until the start of your next shooting phase, which means it exists for Overwatch purposes.
Interesting.
And I already mentioned Overwatch can be a potential play here. When we get to that unit, this is going to be pretty important to set up. Overall, I think that our friends at the Thunderkyn have upgraded themselves to absolutely vital, and I expect to see them in every list.
Yeah, no, I think you will, for sure.
Hearthkyn Warriors. This is our basic troop choice. They remain exactly the same in stats. They're T5, 4-up save, 1 wound, lead 7, 2 OC. They gain a 6-up Feel No Pain permanently. Previously, it used to be that you had to have one of the upgrades, and so when you split the squad, only one half of the squad would have that upgrade to get the 6-up Feel No Pain. Now they just have it under abilities, and other changes have happened here to some of their kind of war gear and weapons. The main ones are going to be that the combat knives that you can take from the upgraded Kill Team box, you can take up to 2 plasma knives in the unit. So they lose access to the combat fist, but gain access to plasma knives, so a bit worse in combat. But the Thane, the leader, gets to keep his combat weapon as normal. His pistol changed a little bit. It's strength 8, AP 2, 1 damage, only 1 shot now, instead of being AP 3 and D3. And then the special weapons have all changed a little bit. The main one that you're going to look at here is, I still think that the rotary cannon and the auto rifle with their 6 shots at strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage are still going to be the main way to run the guns in this unit. I think the Magna Rail rifle with 1 shot is just wildly inconsistent, and the plasma beamer remains the same at a 1 shot, strength 8, AP 3, 2 damage weapon. The other weapon is the Ion versus Bolters. They remain exactly the same, but because of the loss of the Panspectral Scanner ignores cover, I think you might want to consider running the Strain 5 AP 2 1 damage weapon, the Ion Blaster, just for a little bit more chip damage into things.
Yeah.
And then they keep sticky objectives as their main rule. Their second rule becomes the Panspectral Scanning, and it gives them reroll 1s to hit. And that's going to be true throughout for everything that had a Panspectral Scanner. Instead of giving ignores cover, it now gives reroll 1s to hit.
Okay, that's not like bad, right? Hitting on 3s roll 1s when you are in, defend territory or whatever the heck it's called. That's pretty reliable on the hit roll, at least. So that's neat.
Yeah, it's solid. Ignore's cover was just so useful, and there are other ways to give rerolls in the different detachments. So I think it is a net debuff. It also means the character joining won't Ignore's cover, which was usually a big part of the Grimnyr and some of the others.
Oh, right. Yes.
Their last change is that they have a Wargear ability now, which is the We Feel Crest. Instead of giving the Thane a 4-up invuln, just him, it now gives the entire unit a 5-up invuln, which is a lot better.
That is a lot better.
But it means that the Rampart crest on the Kahl and Uthar that give models in the unit that they're leading a 5-up invuln, utterly redundant because this is one of the 2 data sheets they can join.
Okay,
so... And Hearthguard are a 2-up save unit that would only need it against AP4 weapons that ignore cover.
Yes. Or in combat against AP4, which doesn't
super rare.
Really exist.
So that's a huge miss, and that will be the second grudge because it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, it's a bit of a non-bow, but...
it's not a huge deal, but it's annoying, and I don't like it.
It is annoying.
I don't like it one bit, Jack.
It is annoying. I hear you on that. Yes, giving Terminator profiles, right, 5-up invuln is not the most relevant thing in the world. That being said, I mean, if you gave him a 4-up invuln, now we're talking.
Now
we're cooking.
It should. I honestly think they should have errated that, but I'm me.
You want to run your Terminators. I get it.
I love my Terminators. Yeah. And let's get into some new units here. Ironkin Steeljacks. There's 2 different variants, one with heavy Vulcanite disintegrators and one with melee weapons. So their defensive profile is exactly the same. They move 5 inches, they're T6, 2-up save, 3 wounds apiece, lead 7, 1 OC. So the shooting guys, they have a heavy Vulcanite disintegrator that's dev wounds. It's 24-inch range. I guess I didn't mention this, I think, already, but the Vulcanite weapons have gone from 18-inch range to 24.
Oh, that's really good. Yeah.
So this follows that. It's 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage. Dev wounds.
Okay.
So it's a volume of shots. If you run, they're 90 points for 3, 180 for 6 of them.
So 180 gets you 36 shots hitting on 4. I mean, that's a decent volume of shot, right? Yep. You do hit on 4s, but you can go to hitting on 3s. Yeah, that's a decent volume of fire.
Yep, it's a decent volume of fire, and there are going to be ways to potentially give them rerolls. Then the combat weapons, I think, are pretty mediocre. You have the Plasma Knife, which is 2 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 6, AP 2, 1 damage. Or the Plasma Sword, which the Sergeant model can get. 6 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 6, AP 2, 1 damage as well. 1 damage is not really... I don't want my relatively expensive elite infantry to just beat up trash.
Do they give up the gun for that?
You do.
Oh, that's... Okay. Never mind.
So when you have the Thane, his heavy Vulcanite disintegrator and Plasma Knife can be replaced by a Bolter and a Plasma Sword. It's better just to have the Vulcanite.
Yes. The Vulcanite actually is quite a lot of shots.
So their datasheet rule. Each time you target this unit with the Fire Overwatch stratagem, hits are scored on an unmodified 5+ while resolving the strat. If they are in Fortified Takeover, if your army's in Fortified Takeover, hits are scored on an unmodified 4+. So now you free Overwatch them, you're hitting on 4s, potentially rerolling 1s, and that will start to add up pretty nasty. And because the ignores cover from the Thunderkyn lasts until your next shooting phase, you'll get your AP1 ignores cover.
Yes, that's quite good. I mean, it's pretty reasonable that if your opponent moves on to an objective with like some nonsense, you'll just kill it. I think a real like fighting unit probably doesn't take that much damage off of this, but like trash your opponent throws forward definitely will. And there are some real fighting units that are more mobile and more offensive than defensive. Something like the Court of the Archon will get torn up by this. Something like Aspect Warriors, for example, you just lose a squad when they Overwatch. So very interesting. And because it's 24-inch range on this, I play Eldar. If it's a 12-inch range Overwatch, you can play around it. You either stay out of the range, or when you finally do go in the range, you turn off Overwatch, right, in that one place. But because it's 24-inch range, unless you're only exposing one unit, you're just going to get Overwatch somewhere, and that just is what it is. So it's a very good tool against those sort of more mobile armies, too.
Absolutely, yeah. Their damage will add up over time, and this Overwatch play is going to be a pretty big part of utilizing them. And then their Wargear ability is the Prey Mark Crest. Each time model in the bearer's unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit within range of one or more objective markers on a critical wound, that attack has precision. So every dev wound will be precision.
Oh.
So if your opponent comes out with like a combat unit with a character inside, if you roll 4 or 5 dev wounds, whatever their wounds characteristic, you'll just kill the character in the unit.
That's pretty good. Is that when can you do that in Overwatch?
Each time the bearer's unit makes an attack that targets an enemy unit within range of an objective marker.
Okay, they have to be in range of an objective marker, but it sounds like it can be used in Overwatch. Okay, that's pretty scary. Also, the fact that your Overwatches can be free means you're just going to do this every turn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is... Okay, that's
a
really interesting unit.
Yeah, it's very, very different because Votann are an army that doesn't really have flamers, torrent weapons. This is our effective version of torrent.
Yeah, just firing 1 billion bolter shots down
billion
range.
dev wound shots.
And they're AP1, so if your opponent is in the open or if you turn off cover, that's really going to add up. And it is dev wounds, and it's like weirdly precision, and it can Overwatch. And it's... How many wounds are they?
3 wounds.
At toughness...
6 to save.
With the -1 to wound potentially at 30 points a model is... Okay, that unit's kind of crazy.
That unit seems good.
Yeah.
I'm excited to put these because I love robot men who look like Terran Space Marines.
I know you do.
I mean, like, somebody at Games Workshop was like, I have the aesthetic for you. And I'm like, yes, please. Yes, sir. And then the combat version here. So they have the bolters, and then they have one of 2 combat options. Concussion Gauntlet, lethal hits. It's going to be 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, strength 10, AP2, 2 damage. Or the Plasma Sword, which is sus 1, 6 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 6, AP2, 1 damage.
I feel a lot more likely to take the sword, honestly.
Just the volume of it.
Just the volume, the fact it hits on 3s, I think it actually just does more damage.
As
too.
sus, yeah.
Yeah, you go into an objective, you're hitting on 2s with sustained. I think I'll have to crunch the numbers later, but I think it does more damage into like basically every target, other than probably toughness 9.
Their datasheet ability is going to be Merciless Eradication. Each time an enemy unit, excluding monsters and vehicles, that is within engagement range of this unit falls back, models in that enemy unit must take a Desperate Escape test. When doing so, if the enemy unit is battle shocked, subtract 1 from each of those tests. This rule is bad.
All right, I am an aficionado because I have a lot of melee armies, and they love to keep giving melee armies the fallback Desperate Escape checks. And every single time...
I've never seen it utilized.
Complete buns. It's just bad, man. Why do they keep doing this? That being said, that unit with the swords is actually super interesting because it's 6 attacks each with sustained.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy to either be fighting over an objective, killing an enemy unit on an objective, or you're on an objective yourself. And then it's 36 attacks. What's the cost of the unit?
It's the exact same as the shooting unit, so it's...
180?
Yep, 90 or 180 for 6.
Okay, that's pretty good, because it's 36 attacks hitting on 2s with sustained, basically most of the time, at 621. That's 1 million attacks,
yep.
And that can very easily just clear an objective. That can very easily, especially that is great if you give it any kind of buff. If you give that lance or +1 AP or anything.
They have the Preymark crest as well, which means critical wounds are a precision, but they don't do anything on 6s to wound.
Yeah, that's a lot less.
It's a lot less good.
Because what you do with the other Preymark crest is you hand them exactly as many dev wounds as their wound characteristic, and then they just die. In this, especially with melee units, a lot of the time what you don't want to do is go after enemy characters, because then the unit will just kill you. And the character is usually the toughest model in the unit of a good unit. Yeah, it's got the best save, it's got an invuln, for example, more wounds. So what typically would happen is like I can either kill the unit or I can kill 2 guys and the character, and then you get hit back. And that's just not worth it.
Yeah.
Generally. But it could be. Sometimes.
I think these guys will end up being a skirmish unit, like you said, but they only move 5. So you're going to need to use something like a land fort to mobilize them.
I was thinking kind of a countercharge unit. They're very tough, especially if they're on an objective.
A heroic threat potential. You can make it free with the Memnyr Strategist.
It's a lot of attacks. It's 180, 30 points a model for toughness 6, 3 wounds with a 2-up and -1 to wound. Is pretty gross as a defensive stat line. And it's not like these guys can't defend themselves, right? They have 6 attacks apiece. That's legitimately a very scary unit. At least one unit of that to just push back any melee armies shoving you, because they'll kill infantry melee units like you would not believe.
Yep, and there's going to be a detachment that buffs Steeljacks, so we will go ahead and look at how they interact with those rules as well.
Oh, the Steeljacks seem really cool. I
Really,
wish they
really cool.
had a relevant datasheet rule on the combat ones, but to be honest with you, that unit is like scary enough for me. So whatever. It's like
I'm excited
cheap,
to run
hard
them.
to kill, a million attacks.
Einhyr champion, the humble Einhyr champion, he goes to 70 points, so increases by 10. He loses a toughness. He goes from T6 down to T5. Other stats remain exactly the same. His 2 combat weapons remain the same, except they both gain an AP. So the Darkstar Axe goes to AP3, and so does the Mass Hammer, but they remain 6 and 3 attacks respectively. He can still only join the Hearthguard. His rule changes from if he's leading unit, they get reroll charges, which you can now get in the first half of the army rule. That instead changes to +1 to advance and charge rolls. Now, you can't advance and charge them, so realistically it's +1 to charge.
Yeah.
Which is slightly better if you are willing to spend a CP on the charge reroll, but it's not great. And then the Mass Driver Accelerators is still the Charge Mortals. He can take the Weave Crest or the Teleport Crest and lead those Hearthguard, but a 10-point increase for this guy makes literally 0 sense to me, and that's a grudging.
So I get what they're going for here, right? It depends on your risk tolerance. Personally, an 8-inch rerolling charge is not within my risk tolerance. I like 6. I'll take 6. I still fail it. Drago was the worst. But personally, I like a 6-inch charge before I commit an expensive unit.
This is not going to be cheap.
No, it's not going to be cheap. But an 8-inch charge with rerolls to charge, because you can very easily have rerolls to charge either through a CP or through the army rule. It is somewhere in like the 80%-ish range, I think. I don't remember the math, but it's in there somewhere. Maybe 75-ish. So it's to the point where you can start to make plans about it. But personally, I think +2 to charge would have been better. I won't go for an 8-inch charge out of reserves unless I'm like losing the game. Yep. And if you are, it's a great way to try to come back. But personally, that's not where you build your lists around.
Let's look at the Hearthguard. They also lose a toughness from T6 down to T5, which I think is just a huge miss. How
is that not getting a grudging?
It's getting.
It's getting one?
There's going to be more than one here. I'm going to do it all.
That is a shame.
So, unfortunately for Hearthguard, they are now the same toughness as Warriors, which makes absolutely 0 sense to me. They are literally in some of the heaviest armor that you can access in this army. So them losing a toughness and staying at 2 wounds only is just not good. It's just not good.
Oh, man, toughness 6 would have been so relevant here because the -1 to wound on toughness 6 is just the worst to try to chew through. But now, toughness 5 -1 to wound, still not great. Don't get me wrong, but like much easier than toughness 6.
So their plasma goes to rapid fire 1. It's 24-inch range, so they can get a second shot. That was one of its biggest weaknesses. But it goes down a strength to strength 7. It was already a relatively weak plasma, and strength 7 is not really where you want to be. It does remain AP3 and 2 damage. The Exo Armor Grenade Launcher, the blast weapon, goes from D6 shots down to D3 shots, and it goes from strength 4 down to strength 3. Completely neutered in that respect.
What? Okay, sure.
It is 24-inch range, but it's not going to do very much.
Did these guys plummet in points cost?
We'll get to that. Vulcanite does go to 24-inch range, still dev wounds, still the same profile, 3 shots, strength 5. They still hit on 3s, luckily. They were one of the few units that had native ballistic skill.
That's good. You were really suffering from a unit that can pump a ton of Vulcanite shots.
And then it's combat.
That was sarcasm. You have the Steeljacks.
The Concussion Gauntlet remains only 2 attacks, which was a huge downside of the unit. Just didn't hit that hard in combat. Still strength 8, AP2, 2 damage. The Graviton Hammer gains anti-vehicle monster 3+. Stays 3 attacks. Is weapon skill 4+, though. And remains strength 9, AP1, 3 damage. The Plasma Gauntlet is somehow only 3 attacks at strength 6, AP2, 1 damage. And then we get to its datasheet rule. So it used to be if a character led the unit, you would get -1 to wounds. That was pretty decent defense. It was an incentive to put the Einhyr champion in the unit. Now it's each time a model in this unit makes a ranged attack specifically against the closest eligible target, you get reroll 1s to hit.
Oh boy. So how many points do these bad lads?
So they did go down 15 points. There were 5 models as 135, and the entire 10-man unit is 270. But frankly, And if you think about it, the Grotmus Detachment is supposed to benefit Hearthguard. It's one of the main beneficiaries. That also gives you reroll 1s against the closest eligible.
I see. So that's not really designed with the codex. This better get more than 1, bro.
It's getting 4 because that is ridiculous. This is my favorite model in the Votann range, and to see it completely neutered like this in basically every single way without receiving the compensatory buffs that it needed to, I don't really see a purpose. It now has a direct competitor in the Ironjacks that is better in almost every single way than Hearthguard. They're better defensively. They are better offensively. They have a better datasheet rule.
So there's 2 positives here, and then everything else is negative. The first positive is that they're cheaper. 3 points a model cheaper. Mm-hmm. And they, yes, toughness 6 would have been very nice. But T5 -1 to wound. They already had -1 to wound. Okay, yeah, that's not really much of a. It's not really much of a positive. 3 points a model is not enough to make a completely neutered unit like better. The other positive is this means you're going to be running a lot of models with the word Jack in it.
Yeah, that is true.
Let's go.
Both Steel and Jack.
That's right. So, oh man, 27 points a model is cheap, but probably not cheap enough.
Let me throw one more negative in here, which involves the land fort. One of their biggest rule benefits was the reroll wounds when popping out of a land fort. That has changed as well, and they will not be benefiting from that.
Man, they were so cool.
Yes.
They were so cool. Okay, if you're going to do this, at least make them like... It's just, the problem is it's a very hard unit to price because their offense is completely anemic and they are very slow. And that just is the way it is. Now, for their points cost, they are tougher than average, I would say. But there's only so much you can do with a unit like that, right?
You just don't do enough. You kind of have to be cheap.
Like, if you price that unit at 22 points a model, right? It doesn't, like, do anything, but it is too cheap for its durability. You can just have too many of them, and they are everywhere. But if you price it at 27, I could be wrong. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. That's just too much.
I think it's too much.
I think it's too much.
I don't think this is... When the Ironjacks are right there, it's...
Like, if you price this at 100 points a unit, it's probably too cheap, and you're just going to see these cheap units running around that don't do anything, but are very tough to kill for their points. Yeah. And that's just a really boring place to have the Terminators land.
What is that unit supposed to do, is the question. What is it supposed to do? Tell me.
It's either cheap enough at its
but that's not when you write a data sheet. You don't worry about the points first. What is that unit's role? What is it supposed to do?
I don't know. It's supposed to be the anvil.
It's not.
It's not. It's less tough than the Steeljacks. And also for a similar points cost, right? So. It's like for what? 6 models are 27 points a model?
Yep.
Okay. Steeljacks are 30? +1 toughness, +1 wound.
5 models is 135.
Yes. So they're 27 points a model, and Steeljacks are 30 points a model.
Yes.
So Steeljacks are +1 toughness, which matters tremendously.
+1 wound.
+1 wound. Do relevant things, either in melee or in shooting.
Way better Vulcanite gun.
These guys kind of do nothing in both. Yeah. That is disappointing. They were very cool. I think you could have, like, their offense needed to go up, especially if they're not relying on full rerolls to win dev wins. Their offense needed to go up. They probably needed to gain a 3rd wound. Toughness 5 is, like, fine if you do that. But they didn't. Like, I think this would have been really cool if these were, like, 30-point Terminators that are like budget Terminators, right? Which they were before.
Yeah.
But they just aren't.
They had a role before. I don't think they have a role anymore.
No. And current Terminators, by the way, are like 35 points in Space Marines and very bad.
I mean, you have Wolfguard Terminator. Let's look at the best Terminator, like Wolfguard Terminators. They get the -1 to wound. They're 4 wounds apiece. They can have a variety of combat attacks that actually do damage.
Yeah, and they're like 170
170 for 5.
That's 34 points a model. That is 7 points a model more than these guys. And I will say their offense is about the same. Because these guys shoot and Wolfguard Terminators don't. So between the two combined, whatever, you get there. But the Wolfguard Terminators are like infinitely more durable. These guys also 2-wound Terminators, not great.
It's not great.
Because there's a lot of things that are just a bunch of 2 damage and just scoop them at light speed.
Yeah.
Oh well, that sucks.
Cthonian Beserks. Another data sheet has changed in practically every way.
For the better? For the better?
We'll see.
Okay.
They move 6 inches now, so they gain +1 movement.
That's huge.
Which might not seem like a big deal, but it is very much a big deal, and there is a way to advance and charge them in their detachment. There's a Berserk detachment. They're T6 now. They're higher toughness than Hearthguard.
Well, they are big ballers.
And they went from 6-up armor save to 5-up armor save.
Their pants?
Yes.
Their pants are a 5-up armor save?
They've got mechanical pants.
Okay, this is some good-ass pants.
They are. I want those pants.
Because they don't have armor.
They have a shirt.
They have
muscles.
Sometimes they don't even have
muscles.
a shirt. Okay, carry on.
They went from 2 wounds to 1 wound. And you can no longer, with the Mole Launcher guy, gain extra wounds. So every model is 1 wound.
Okay.
They are
there's a detachment built around these guys?
Yes.
All right.
So the Mole Launcher remains quite bad. It's not really going to be doing anything.
Did they fix the thing where it got +1 shot?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not going to... There's no +1 attack, +1 wound rule anymore for that. It's just an extra... You have a bigger base.
Sick. That's probably good because you can then... Whatever. It like helps with coherency and stuff, and you can put it into something in base, but who cares?
So Mole Launcher is still blast indirect, 18-inch range, so it loses a bit of range. D6 shots, BS5, so it's at best just going to hit on 5s.
Okay.
Strength 5, AP 1 damage, whatever. The melee weapons, Concussion Maul. Previously Strength 9, AP 2, flat 3 damage. It was the main option that you would take all the time. Still 3 attacks. Strength 5, AP 2, flat 3. However, it gains anti-monster and vehicle 3+. So it is much worse against elite infantry units, but it is in ways better against monsters and vehicles because we used to wound those on 4s with +1 to wound.
I wish this were Strength 6. I think Strength 6 anti-monster vehicle 3+ would have been an upgrade. Strength 5 is real, the things you're trying to swing at are toughness 5. Yeah. I think Strength 6 would have been a straight upgrade. As it is... pretty side grady.
Question mark.
Needs worse to be into seen. Some things.
Yeah.
Better into monsters and vehicles, though.
Yep, but worse into elite infantry or those type of things. Heavy Plasma Axe is also 3 attacks. Still hits on 4s. It's Strength 7, AP 2, flat 3.
Oh. What?
But no anti-monster vehicle.
Excuse me? So it gets +2 strength and loses anti-monster vehicle 3+.
Yes.
So bad?
Yes.
Just if I'm getting that right?
Bad.
Okay.
Specifically better into T6 infantry, I guess.
Why is the axe higher strength? Okay. All right. Let's try this again. Okay. Let's say I'm designing this. The hammer is 3 attacks at 7, 2, 3 anti-monster vehicle 3+. The axe is strength 5 at damage 2, but with 5 attacks.
Yes. That would be a very interesting dichotomy between them.
Yeah, probably strength 6. But whatever. That's not what happened.
The Twin Concussion Gauntlet. This is for every 5 models you can take one of these. It's twin linked, as it used to be. It's 4 attacks, hits on 4s, strength 9, so it keeps its strength.
Okay.
It's AP 2, only flat 2, but it now is an option that you pretty much take every single time now, in my opinion. Whereas previously, you never really wanted it.
You think so?
I think so. 4 attacks at twin linked with strength 9, AP 2, 2 damage. I think it's worth it to trade 1 hammer out.
Probably. Probably. Yeah, just the twin linked part
Twin
of
link
it.
helps a lot. Remember, there's no +1 to wound here. And against those elite infantry units, you might need this to really help.
My guess is after playing, if this is a unit you play with, after playing this unit for a bit, you will either say, yep, I'm correct on the concussion gauntlets, or you go, actually, I just want 1 more hammer.
We might see, yeah.
We'll see.
I think on the surface, I want to take 1 now, which means I have to model those again. I just did all my freaking concussion mauls, Games Workshop, please.
Man, the hammers being strength 5 is so
not
how
hammer.
do I put this? Pathetic.
At least they have a hammer, right?
I guess. Sure.
Let's look at their rules.
What are we doing?
Feel No Pain switches from 5-up to 4-up, but they're only 1 wound.
Okay. Worse? That's worse.
It's worse. It is worse. They used to have much better defense. 2 wounds with 5-up Feel No Pain, 3 wounds on the big guys. It was annoying to kill them.
It was annoying. You would kill them at much slower speed. As a attacking Berserk aficionado, they never died at the rate you wanted them to.
Yep. So Cyber Stims. Each time a model in this unit is destroyed by melee attack, if they have not fought this phase, they get to fight on death on a 4-up. but they add 1 to the result if units from your army are in Fortify Takeover.
Okay.
So you can fight on death on a 3-up.
All right, Fight on Death on a 3-up is much better than Fight on Death on a 4-up. It's a lot more reliable. You will get a lot more of your units swinging. Now, here's the issue. Oh, man. Are you going to take the axe just because this thing only wants to go into melee units? And melee units are not vehicles? And then you fight on death and you swing with the axe and it does more damage into melee units?
It's possible.
I guess. I could see the argument. I could see the argument to take axes just because what you want this unit to go after in that case would be things like, it's a bad example. I was going to say Sword Brethren, but Sword Brethren toughness 4. But things like Thunderwolf Cavalry, right? Where they're toughness 6. Or things like Wolfen, where they're toughness 6. Or things like
Ironjacks.
8-bound, other Ironjacks, stuff like that. That's toughness 5 or 6, Terminators, that sort of thing. And having the ability to actually wound those things better is more important if you're planning on using this as like a counter melee threat, because then when they fight on death, they actually do more damage into those targets. It depends what you're looking for, I guess. I can see the argument. I still think hammers is probably better, but keeping fight on death means that you want to be swinging into those infantry units that are going to be hitting you in combat. And against those, the axe is just better.
Yep.
So, interesting.
Then we have the Subterranean Explosives. This revolves around the Mole Launcher. Now it no longer is a 4-up. It still doesn't work on monsters and vehicles, but instead of giving out -2 to move, advance, and charge, which was fantastic, now it turns off Overwatch. You can't use Overwatch stratagem until the start of your next shooting phase.
Oh, that's horrible. Okay, let me explain why that's terrible. So, let's say you walk up to me, and I'm a man with an Overwatch, right? You're walking up to me.
You're Flamer Man.
Right, I'm a Flamer Man. Now, you walk up and you say, would you like to Overwatch? And I go, I might wait until the charge phase. And you go, because you are an honest gent, well, I have a weapon that can turn off your Overwatch. And I go, good point. I will Overwatch you right now before you get a chance to shoot it. Suppose...
It denies half of an Overwatch potential.
It denies the Overwatch your opponent won't take because they know you can turn off Overwatch, so they'll just do it in the movement phase. The Overwatch this actually denies is very niche. It is the Rapid Ingress Overwatch, which rarely happens. When it does, it's very nasty, so it's not bad to turn that off, right? Against Death Guard, for example. They love rapid ingressing in and just going and just like wiping a unit out. That is relevant there. But that's pretty niche, honestly. Turning off Overwatch in the shooting phase is such a wild time to do it. That's a complete miss, honestly. Like what? Why?
Yep. So they remain 100 points. And this is the biggest downside, is that they remain exactly the same cost, even though I think they are a bit worse than... I think they are quite a bit worse than they were previously.
They're significantly worse,
and that's going to get some more tokens.
Yeah, I mean, okay. I usually don't subscribe to the conspiracy theory that GW likes to push new rules. I usually just think that that's the rise and fall of units, and occasionally, and we don't really talk about it when new units come out and are bad. We talk about it when new units come out and are good. That being said, the new units here are quite good, and the old units here are nerfed.
In significant ways.
In significant ways. If you want a counter melee unit, you have Steeljacks right there. If you want a good shooting unit that does exactly the same shooting as the Terminators, but better, then you're going to be taking the Steeljacks with guns. Yep. Are they the same data sheet or are they two separate ones? They're two separate ones, right?
Two separate.
Yeah, so there's no reason. There's actually no reason to take Beserks and Terminators when you can just take Steeljacks.
So the only thing that's going to potentially save Beserks here is that they have a detachment built around them. And as I mentioned, it has advance and charge.
Does it make them battle line?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So there are some silver linings there, but we'll have to get into that one to see them. Now there's a new Berserk unit or Cthonian unit, which is Cthonian Earthshakers. This is the indirect battery. It's 110 points for 2 of these bases.
Please be bad. Please be bad. Please be
They're
bad.
They're bad.
Oh, thank God. I hate indirect.
They move 4 inches. They're T6, 4-up save, 6 wounds, lead 7, 2 OC. Their 2 options are Breacher Ordnance. It's a blast weapon, heavy, indirect, 24-inch range.
What? Hold on.
D6 plus 1 shots, BS 5 plus.
What?
10, 1, 2.
Oh, okay.
No
so
ignores cover.
That is terrible.
Their other option is Tremor Shells. It's 36-inch range, also indirect and heavy. D6 plus 4 shots, still BS 5, Strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage.
Ignores cover, right?
No.
Oh, yeah. I hate when indirect fire is good, so I'm not going to be like sad about this. But it is a shame that they came out with a new unit, designed it to do indirect fire, and then we're like, nope, we're going to make it bad. Because that is a truly awful datasheet.
Now, the way to make indirect interesting is to give them a good datasheet rule that even though they don't do much damage with the indirect fire, they get a really cool rule.
Yes, but it does sound to me like you're setting up that they don't do that.
Destabilizing Quakes.
Oh my god.
In your shooting phase, after this unit has shot, select one enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks made with its tremor shells. You do have to hit, by the way, which is not a guarantee.
You hit on 6s if you shoot out of line of sight.
Yep.
Is it heavy?
It is heavy.
Okay, so you hit on 5s.
You hit on 5s. Unless they have minuses.
Yep, which they might.
That unit must take a battle shock test at -1.
And
that's
if
what happens.
they fail it.
That's if you use tremor shells.
And if they fail the check, anything happens? They're battle
shocked.
Okay, that's impressive.
Geomantic Hunters, up to twice per battle. In your shooting phase, when this unit is selected to shoot, it can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the phase, each time a model in this unit makes an attack with its Breacher Ordnance, that's the Strength 10 version.
AP1?
Yep.
Okay.
You can reroll wounds with your 2 or 3 hits, maybe, if you're lucky.
Why even include this datasheet, man? Why? What are we doing? Is it a cool model?
It's a cool looking model, but it's trash.
Why not? Does it look like it has to shoot indirect? Could they've just made it a direct fire battery and made it relevant?
It is a mortar.
Okay. Well, I'm of two minds. Indirect unit bad. Jack happy. New unit bad. Jack sad.
Just doesn't have a purpose. The debuff, if the damage is not there, the debuff should do something important.
Yes. And it's like bad on a variety of actions, actually. It's kind of shocking.
The range is horrible.
24-inch range indirect? Okay, let me compare you to another 24-inch indirect piece, the D-Cannon. The D-Cannon's like strength 16, dev wounds, D6 plus 2. I don't know. And it's still... The reason I don't know that for sure is because it's still bad. This thing is 24-inch range at strength 10, AP 1, damage 2. It's ballistic skill 5 plus.
It's more than 5 Beserks.
I mean, okay.
It's the same points as Buri.
It does not do damage. It has no range.
It has no relevant debuffs.
Has no relevant debuffs. What are we doing?
This could be one of the ways to try and strip cover from stuff. You know, that
would be interesting.
That your Thunderkyn couldn't reach.
Yep, and then I'd be very happy it was 24-inch range, because at 36-inch range, that might be too good. But as it is, it's very much not too good. What's the range on the anti-infantry one?
It's 36 on the other one.
Okay, so I think if you have 3...
Well, I mean, the garbage shot, the garbage shot one is 36, and the strength 10 one is
and strength
24.
5, right?
Strength 6.
Strength 6. So I think if you shoot 3 of these batteries at a unit of cultists... I think you'll kill them in your second shooting phase, which is...
You get 2 of these per 110.
Oh, 2 of them per 110?
110?
Okay, you'll probably kill a unit of cultists every turn for 330 points.
Yes.
At 36-inch range.
Yes. If you get there. Moving 4.
Yes. So you're not killing the ones on their home objective. You're killing the ones that are in the center, and you're 330. It's bad. It's very bad. We can just move on with our lives.
Hernkyn Yaegirs. They are still the same profile. They have a 5-up save. They move 6. They're T5. They kept their Pragmatic Hunter's reactive move, so the enemy ends a normal, advance, or fallback within 9. They can normal move D6. There's no way to make it a little more consistent here, which would have been nice. And it is once per turn, so it can be used against your opponent's reactive moves.
Okay.
Their special weapons are cool because the APM launcher's anti-vehicle monster 3+. It's only 1 shot, but strength 6, AP2, D6 damage. You probably take it now. Otherwise, they're basically the same unit. They stay at 90 points for the unit of 10.
I've had that gun do like 4 or 5 damage to my Demon Prince. It's very annoying.
And we'll see they have a transport now, and it does allow them to split up. Okay, Hernkyn Pioneers. This was one of our best data sheets before. Pretty much essential in every single list. And they are 80 points now, 160 for the 6 model unit.
Okay.
So they're 10 points cheaper per 3.
They were very good. Let's see where they stack up now.
Still move 12, still T6, 4-up save, 3 wounds, OC2. They still kept grenades, they're mounted, all the cool stuff. They have fly keyword, one of the few units that does.
Scout still?
They scout 9.
All right, okay, all right.
Everything's good news there. So their weapons are very similar. Basically the same for most weapons here. The shotgun kept assault, the rotary cannon still assault, or sorry, still sustained, and still 6-1-1. The ion beamer has changed. It's D3 shots +1 now at 8-2-1. I still think you take the rotary cannon.
Just more shots, probably. Yeah.
Every time. And now if we look at their datasheet rule, outflanking mag riders, it has changed somewhat. It still does go back into reserve, which is fantastic. It used to be if your unit was within 6 of a board edge, so just one model was touching within 6 of a board edge, you could go back into reserve end your opponent's turn. Now the unit has to be wholly within 9 inches of a board edge. So you can't string the unit out quite as much, but wholly within 9 at least is not wholly within 6. So it's a little bit more restrictive, but it's still a good rule.
It's still a good rule. It's still a good rule. You still have that. You just have to be careful, like that you set it up, but you can still go back into reserves and drop a shooting unit on a flank, which is that pressure of constantly being able to have a shooting unit drop in on the flank is very good for that army.
Now their war gear abilities have changed somewhat. So multi-weave comms array is still the 5-up CP regen. That's the one that you typically didn't take unless you were running the 6 model unit, because you can only take a special weapon guy can't have one of these. So in the 3-man, you get 2 upgrades in a special weapon. And the other thing to mention here is the special weapon guy with the rotary cannon doesn't have the extra wound anymore. They just got rid of that. They're all 3 wounds. There's no 4-wound guy anymore.
That's a significant downgrade for him, but 10 points per 3 is a sizable decrease in cost, so I'm willing to take it.
Now the Panspectral Scanner, as I mentioned, no longer ignores cover, and this is a unit that has a lot of AP 1 shots. It is now reroll 1s to hit. Just is a good rule, but without cover, ignoring cover, these are less good at skirmishing into the backfield now because they natively don't ignore cover.
Yeah, you can basically think of this as just losing 1 AP. Every target they go after is going to have some amount of the unit in cover, especially because your opponent knows you don't ignore cover anymore. That's huge.
They were one of the biggest beneficiaries of the +1 to wound from the second judgment token.
Yes.
Their other rule, Rollbar Searchlight, gave you +1 to hit if you shot at a unit with stealth specifically. Now it allows you just to ignore hit modifiers, which is better.
That's better.
It's better. I think the points increase is very much appreciated here because they are a worse unit than they were previously.
Yes.
And I think they will go back into the role of more of a skirmisher rather than a central damage piece.
Which probably is what the goal was here.
Yep.
They probably could have gone down a little bit more, to be honest with you.
Yeah, maybe 75.
Maybe 75. The lack of ignores cover is going to be really felt. It's like you really, as you said, can't make it your central damage piece, and it was before.
But no
+1 to wound, as you mentioned.
Yep, as a scoring unit, as an objective contesting unit, I think they're still a good unit overall.
Yeah, 80 points for 3 of those. The Scout 9 move up and fight other skirmish units quite well.
I think it's still solid.
Not going to be sad about that. You're not going to get the 6-man Doom Rider squads that just like roll up on you. You know, they just spin the block on you and just kill you.
Now, this is one of those units that could attack enemy staging points because it was fast. You know, you could rapid it down, move 12 inches, get behind a ruin, and kill things. We're going to feel the lack of that distant damage output, that ability to attack staging points because both Beserks are weaker into a lot of targets and the Pioneers are weaker. That
is going to be felt for sure.
So I think that the ability to reach out and attack things that your opponent otherwise didn't want you to hit is significantly weaker now.
Yes. You might still take Beserks just for that role, right? Something needs to attack the staging ruin so that the rest of your army can move up safely.
Now we have another new data sheet, the Kapricus Defenders. So there's 2 different variants. There's the Defender variant, and then there's the Carrier variant.
But they have added a lot of units to this army.
Mm-hmm. They got, I think, 6 new data sheets. So Kapricus Defender moves 12 inches. It's T7, 4-up save, 7 wounds, 7-up leadership, and 2 OC.
What was the toughness on that?
T7.
So T7, 7 wounds, 4
It's a very light vehicle.
Very light vehicle.
Its weapons are high-las rotary cannon or a Magna Rail cannon as the option. Both are 24-inch range. The heavy rotary cannon is sus 1. The Magna Rail cannon is going to be dev wounds heavy. The rotary cannon is 6 shots, hitting on 4s at strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage. This rotary cannon is 2 damage.
Does this ignore cover?
Nope,
natively?
Not natively.
Does anything natively ignore cover?
I don't think so.
Noted.
I do not believe ignores cover is a rule here besides Thunderkyn stripping it.
Got it.
It's a big deal. But it is 2 damage. And then the rail cannon is 1 shot, strength 14, AP 4, D3 +3. So it's going to be pretty inconsistent, that weapon, but it is one of the few like actual anti-tank type of guns.
Okay.
And then you get a twin Magnacoil autocannon, which is twin-linked, 3 shots, hitting on 4s, strength 7, AP 1, 2 damage. So you can have a bunch of effectively biker shot type shots, AP 1, 2 damage, or you can have one big random shot if you want.
The army doesn't seem to be suffering for like strength 6, AP 1. I think I'd probably go with the Magnacoil just because of that.
And you probably will because of its datasheet rule. So it scouts 9.
Oh boy. Okay. All right.
Scouts
Love
9,
it.
so it's a little bit of nice mobility, and it's deadly demise 1. But opportunistic maneuver, its datasheet rule. In your shooting phase, after the unit has shot, it can make a normal move of up to D6. If it does, it can't charge. So you can stick them out at a narrow angle, shoot your opponent, use that reactive to get back behind terrain, and keep doing it.
D6 means to get angles, you almost... It's a chunky model, right?
And it has a base. It'll have a base as well.
Oh, okay. So very likely what will happen is you stick it out a little bit, and then you pre-measure and you go, if I roll a 3, I'm going to be safe. Yep. And then you roll it, and if you get it, you get it, and if you don't, you don't. And that just is what it is.
Yep. The unit can have a free smoke launcher, so it can use the stealth stratagem if it wants to. But these guys come in at 70 points. So for 140 points, you can have a 2-man with 2 of those shots and 6 twin Magnacoil autocannon shots, and this reactive move. I think that's pretty decent.
Yeah, it's not bad.
As a light
70
tank,
points, pretty reasonable.
It's very similar to some of the light AdMech vehicles.
You could put a lot of holes on the board, is what this sounds like.
You definitely could go for a hull spam version where you just have a lot of wounds out there.
And this kind of complements like the Steeljacks a little bit more, because this is a vehicle that's toughness 7, which means it's not going to take like relevant damage from like bolters and chain cannons and things like that. Same thing as Steeljacks, right? But the stuff that might be efficient into it is that like strength 10, strength 9 sort of shooting. And that's what's also efficient into the Steeljacks. So you can like really have a lot of these toughness 6, 7 hull bodies running around. Because you get a lot of them. Steeljacks are 30 points a model. These things are 70 points a model. This is not hard to load up on a lot of these dudes.
And this unit has the fly keyword, and it moves 12 inches just like the bikes, so it is another way to be able to jump over screens and do things if you need to, which is something Votann typically lacked.
All right, so it sounds like you can really fill the board, which is interesting.
So the Kapricus Carrier, it's a solo unit, so it's not able to be in 2-mans like the Defender is. And its rule, it's same defensive profile, same movement, still has Scouts 9, has Firing Deck 5, and it carries Hernkyn Yaegirs. Its rule is that it's going to be able to split up the Yaegirs from a 10-man to a 5-man, just like the Sagitaurs would for Warriors. It can also have the smoke keyword. Its rule is scanner uplinks. In your shooting phase, after the model is shot, you pick an enemy unit that's not a monster or vehicle that was hit by 1 or more attacks. And so until the start of your next turn, that enemy unit is suppressed, and while it's suppressed, it's -1 to hit. These rules exist in the game, and they're pretty useless because you want to kill your opponent's units. You don't want to leave them wounded at -1 to hit.
How many points is this thing?
Because that usually is a debuff that opponents get with wounded units anyway. Yeah. This is 75 points.
Nah. Nope, not feeling it.
And it has a Magnacoil autocannon and the twin autocannon down bottom. So it basically has 6 autocannon shots, 3 of which are twin-linked.
I'm not feeling this thing as much as I was feeling the one with the rail cannon on top.
Also fly, and it is a dedicated transport, so...
Sure.
But I think it's a pretty mediocre transport. The firing deck doesn't really matter because Jaegers don't shoot that hard, and Jaegers are one of those units where it's actually pretty good that they're a large screen with the reactive move, and it means if you stick like 3 models on the objective and you pull the unit behind, they activate first, they kill 4 or 5 models, you still have a second unit there anyway.
I could see the argument for this thing because you can reactive move back into it. So you have this thing behind a wall. You get the dudes out on the objective. If they move up, you get back in the transport.
Jaegers can reactive into the Sagitaur if they're wounded or if you split them up with this thing.
Right. So I could see taking 1 because it's not that expensive, but you're not going to be happy about it.
It just doesn't do very much for what it brings. I like the reactive move a lot more on the defenders.
Okay.
Sagitaur. Talking about
potato tank.
Units that were heavily nerfed.
Uh-oh. I love these things. These things are cool.
They were cool. They still move 12 inches, which is great. They are T9 now instead of T10. 3-up save. Stay at 9 wounds. So still a light vehicle. They go from OC3 down to OC2, like a lot of light tanks. The high las beam cannon, which was the main one you saw previously, loses it's sustained D3. It is just 2 shots at 24-inch range, hitting on 4s that are strength 12, AP 3, and they go from D6 to D6 plus 1. So it loses sustained D3, gains 1 plus 1 damage.
Okay, did it get anything else?
Its other weapons are very similar to what they were previously. The one main change here that you're going to see is the Mater autocannon, which is a top gun. It's competing with the beam cannon. It gained assault and sustained 1, but it is still a 24-inch range, strength 6 autocannon.
And these things really loved judgment tokens because they really liked wounding a lot of things on 2s. You don't have that anymore. D6 plus 1 is nice, but I think it would have had to be like D6 plus 2 for it to compete. How many? What's the rest of it?
The twin bolt cannon gets sus 2, and that's always going to be your underslung gun. So you basically choose between the autocannon, the twin missile launcher, or the high las beam cannon. Its datasheet rule stays the same, where you can advance and disembark from it.
Sure.
But it's basically troops or a Jaeger unit that was split up by a carrier. And it still has the 6 capacity. You can still put, the cheap units in here. Splitting up warriors is mostly what this was taken for, and trying to do damage with the high las beam cannon. Now it goes down 20 points from 115 to 95, but it doesn't really do damage anymore, and it was supplementary damage to the army.
Yeah, its damage is, I'm not going to say non-existent, but
it was
rarely going to be seen.
It was very swingy before with whether you did damage with the beam cannon or not. Now you're almost never going to do damage with the beam cannon.
Yeah, it's very swingy in that
there's no upside.
Occasionally they might fail a save and take D6 plus 1 damage.
Wow, T10 to T9 is a pretty big debuff.
It's a pretty big debuff. It's still 9 wounds?
Still 9 wounds.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay, here's what it needed.
Oh, sorry, I forgot the other big nerf, which is that it lost Scout 6.
Oh, yeah, wow. This thing
which helped
sucks.
Mobilize these units up the table.
Okay, so let me try and fix this tank. Let me see if I was a rules designer. How would I'm going to stare into its eyes. I'm going to come up with something. All right, you tell me how you would like Scout 6, same profile on the guns, but reroll a hit and a wound.
I think that'd be great.
Like a Lancer.
Yeah.
That would be...
Votann needs supplementary activations to do damage. They're not really an army that wants to rely on a couple units that can do damage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if it had... actually, I think it would be a super interesting unit if it had the 2 shots at D6 plus 1 at 12-3, that rerolled a hit and a wound. I think that would be a very interesting tank to take in multiples. It wouldn't be that nasty in a single shooting activation, but if a couple of them shot you, you'd probably be dead. As is, it doesn't do damage. It doesn't have a relevant rule. It doesn't scout anymore. It isn't as tough. It lost the OC. It can only carry units I don't care about.
OC3 was a big deal because it meant other light vehicles couldn't contest objectives away from it, so they had to put a real unit out there.
Yeah, this thing just lost its reason to live.
The one saving grace is that there is a detachment based around transports, and it is still, of course, a transport, so it may have a role there. But you may still bring one just to split up a warrior unit, so you can have sticky objectives in multiple places, but frankly, it's not the same tank anymore, unfortunately.
That's sad. I think it needed to move away from being the casino cannon. The casino cannon was kind of stupid.
Yeah.
But not like this. Now it's the worst kind of casino.
the one where you lose every time.
Yes, well, that's... Yes.
And then our last data sheet, it is the Hekaton Land Fortress, the big boy himself. Still moves 10, T12, 2 up saves, 16 wounds, lead 7, 5 OC. All that stays the same. However, his weapons have changed and his rule has changed. So, his rule itself is the multi-cog targeting. It used to be if your unit popped out and the land fort hit something, you get reroll wounds, and that really helped Hearthguard. Yes. No longer exists.
Well, it's good that doesn't exist anymore because Hearthguard,
They're especially without reroll wounds.
Yeah.
Each time this model makes a ranged attack, you can ignore all hit modifiers to its ballistic skill and hit roll. So it means stealth and whatnot, which previously was annoying to play against. Doesn't matter. And the Pan-Spectral Scanner, which gave it ignores cover, is reroll 1s to hit. So it's always going to reroll 1s to hit, but doesn't ignore cover anymore. It really does need that Thunderkyn buff. So let's look at the weapon options. All right, you still have your twin bolt cannons. They're going to be sustained 2 now instead of sustained 1. Same long range and awesomeness. The twin ion beamer changes as well. It's only 18-inch range, so it's half the range. It's blast now. still twin-linked. And instead of being flat 3 shots, it's D3 plus 1 blast at strength 8, AP1, or AP2, 1 damage. I still think the bolt
What?
Yes.
Oh, is that instead of the bolt cannon?
Instead of the bolt cannons.
Okay, I was like, instead of the main gun?
No, the main guns are coming up in a second.
Strength, what was the profile? Strength 8, AP2, damage 1?
Yeah. That at half the range, I still really like the bolt cannon, especially since it gains sus 2.
Yeah, the bolt cannons are better.
Then we look at the Mater autocannon. It gains the same upgrade that we saw previously for the Mater versions of it, which is that it's assault now and sustained 1. And still 24-inch range, 6-shot autocannon, but sustained 1 is a nice benefit, and assault, if you like really need to advance the land for it, at least you would get some amount of shots, but probably not doing that. Now, instead of the Panspectral Scanner, you can go for its 1-shot weapon, its Hekaton Warhead. This is a 36-inch range, D6 plus 3-shot weapon that is strength 7, AP2, 2 damage. It used to be indirect fire, it lost that. So it's blast and 1 shot instead of having indirect fire.
That's probably better.
Well, it had those, but it lost indirect.
It's probably better to lose indirect here than gain, I don't know. Did it gain anything?
No.
Oh, okay, never mind. It's not a good thing to lose indirect. I was thinking it gained something in exchange.
The only thing it gained is the fact that potentially the Panspectral Scanner is no longer as powerful as Ignores Cover. But I still think reroll 1s is going to be better than
Probably better. You would never fire this thing indirect because it's 1 shot and you just cap on hitting on 4s and oftentimes hit on 5s. So that wouldn't be worth it. The Panspectral Scanner rerolling 1s to hit on everything is probably better than a 1-shot weapon, yeah. Especially for a tank that aims to sit around and shoot for multiple turns.
Let's look at its main guns here.
Oh boy, let's go.
Cyclic Ion Cannon. This is one that you basically only saw the SB Heavy conversion beamer. So the Cyclic Ion Cannon is blast, 24-inch range, D6 plus 2 shots, hitting on 4s. It went from strength 9 down to strength 7 at AP2, 2 damage. Why did this get nerfed? It was literally never taken, and now it will 100% never be taken.
Well, don't say that. Let's talk about the other guns.
I guarantee you they could do a modicum more and be way better than this.
Yes, for
this
sure.
This is garbage. Why does this exist?
D6
what
plus 2 blast at 7/2/2.
What is that? It lost. It was this before, but it had strength 9 at least.
And it was still bad.
It was still bad.
Okay, let's see what they've done to... Listen, I'm just saying, I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying if they do the same thing to the other guns, maybe it's the best.
So this token is for the Cyclic Ion Cannon. Rip Sweet Prince.
Yeah, completely unnecessary. Why is that getting nerfed?
Okay.
It also, as an AP2 gun, it also lost Ignores Cover, which is massive for any AP1 or 2 guns.
Huge. Heavy Magna Rail Cannon. This used to be 1 shot. So it's 30-inch range. It's 2 shots now. Strength 18, AP4, and it went from 6 plus D6 damage to 4 plus D6 damage. It's still dev wounds, still heavy.
2 shots instead of 1, hitting on 3s a lot of the time, rerolling 1. Strength, what was it, 18?
18.
Okay, that's a good gun. That is a good gun.
Loses 2 points of damage, but I would much rather have the extra shot.
Yes, the 1 shot, I mean, it does more damage on average now. It also is something that cracks tanks at range.
30-inch range, but yeah.
But still. Okay, let's see what the SP Heavy Conversion Beamer is.
This was the auto take pick before. It is conversion and lethal hits now instead of sustained D3. And 24-inch range, it goes from 2 shots base to 4 shots base. Hitting on 4s, strength 10, it remains. AP2, 4 damage. So it doesn't ignore cover anymore. It really wants the Thunderkyn buff. It suffers a lot from not having +1 to wound. Strength 10 into the T11 plus type of units. You really needed the +1 to wound to punch through. And lethal hits with the crits. So it'll crit on 4s if it's more than 12 inches away, allowing you the 4s to hit will give you lethal hits. So it's not bad. 4 shots base is not too bad. It's still going to be pretty swingy overall. An AP2 without Ignores Cover is not a good weapon.
So the Ion got nerfed, and it is the worst option.
Yes.
Okay.
It is still the worst.
Just to be clear, it was nerfed.
The Cyclic Ion was the worst option and got nerfed.
Yes. I would probably take the Magna Rail.
Yeah. I mean, we have a lot of profiles that are relatively low AP. I think the Magna opens up the main anti-tank that we're going to get between this and the Defender version of it. That's really what we can use to punch these durable tanks, because without +1 to wound, you're going to be very inconsistent. You do have the crits on 4s, but if your opponent's close to you and you can't really move back away because you need to be on the objective to get +1 to hit, possibly, you know. I think that's going to be a huge difference, getting the +1 to hit. You have to get closer once you're in Fortified Takeover, and that means you're not going to benefit from the crits anymore.
Yeah.
Which means into anything durable, you're probably not going to be able to do enough damage.
What was the datasheet rule on this thing again?
It's ignore hit mods and ballistic skill mods.
It's not terrible. So if you get the +1 to hit, you hit on 3s or 1s with the Magna Cannon. So you hit on 3s or 1s and strength 18. So a lot of the time into tough vehicles, you win on 3s, which isn't amazing, but still a tough vehicle. It's taking a high save or a lot of damage. Is it dev wounds?
It is dev wounds.
Okay. Against medium toughness vehicles, it wounds them on 2s.
Yeah, like a Sagitaur, it'll wreck that thing.
Yeah, that's a good gun. That is a good gun because it hits on 3s or 1s, so it has a decent amount of that
and it's +6
reliability
range
baked in
compared to the SB heavy.
Yeah, like if you compare it to how many points is this thing? Or start comparing it to stuff?
It went up. It went up 15 points to 240 points.
God, why?
The last thing to consider here is its transport capacity. It used to be 12 capacity, which meant that with Thunderkyn and Hearthguard taking up extra slots, it was very hard to fit characters plus them. They have fixed that issue entirely here. Not only do the Corvs and the Ecogs and whatnot not take up space here, but they gave them 14 capacity and Exo Armor, which is going to be Hearthguard, Exo Frame, which is Thunderkyn, and Ironkin Steeljack units take up only 2 slots each. So you can fit the 6-man plus the Iron Master and an Ironkin assistant for the 14, or you can have the Memnyr Strategist with his Steeljacks. So you can actually have big units in the land fort now and mobilize them.
Is this thing toughness 12 still?
It is still T12.
Still save, 16 wounds?
Still the same defensive profile, but it is 15 points more expensive and probably a bit worse offensively with all the changes.
Yeah, I mean, it's differently offensive, right? It used to... I've been shot by these things before, and sometimes you would die, right? If AP 1 and 2 ignores cover got you, that was it. You were dead. But if that didn't kill you, like if that was a profile where you were just a 2-up save with Armor of Contempt or something, a lot of the times it would bounce. Now at least, right, these things would like never in a million years kill a Vindicator if that Vindicator did not want to die. Now, it very well could one-tap a Vindicator, especially if you're willing to spend a CP to reroll a wound roll.
It's heavily reliant on getting the +1 to hit, which is not guaranteed until a little bit later. Correct.
It is very reliant on that. Luckily, the little guns are very good against the kind of things that want to stand on objectives. So at least you get the +1 there. If you can get to +1 to hit while you are standing on objectives on turn 2, I could see this thing being an all-right shooting battery. Bit weird it went up in cost. That feels a little unnecessary.
I agree.
If you compare it to a Repulsor Executioner, right, it has a similar gun. The Repulsor Executioner has much longer range, but the Repulsor Executioner is also much less tough. It has a 3-up save, not a 2-up save. And that's a huge breakpoint on these very tough tanks. The Repulsor Executioner has a lot more shots that are a lot lower strength, whereas this thing has fewer shots that are higher strength and damage too. I think it's like a pretty reasonable comparison, actually. It's a little tougher, a little more expensive, weirdly enough. Bit shorter range on the main gun.
I think it still feels that durable transport role, and now that it can carry the big 6-man units, it's much more enticing because you can mobilize those units in better ways without having to rapid ingress them. So I think it'll still be seen, personally.
I think it's something you're going to
I think it's our best tank still.
Yeah, I think it's something you're going to need, unfortunately. You need to hold the line. And
we're going to struggle into big targets. This thing can actually kill them.
Yes. Although I like the idea of like a couple of these and then a couple of the little tanks with the Magna
Defenders,
rails. And like, okay, yes, you have to do it in aggregate, which sucks. But it is a lot of shots at high AP, high strength, high damage, which is cool.
All right, so that's going to wrap up the data sheets here. Let's go ahead and dive into the detachments.
All right, first of the detachments, we have the Needgaard Oathband, and they, of course, spelled it a little weird, but, that's Votann for you. You got a detachment roll, Martial Leverage. Each time an enemy unit is destroyed, you gain 1 yield point. Neat.
Yep, so you can rack up more in the early game. This is the replacement for the Index detachment.
Okay. Enhancements, we have Oathbound Speculator. Leagues of Votann model only. Each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. Each time the bearer's unit is selected to shoot or fight, you can spend 3 yield points, which is hefty. If you do, until the end of the phase, each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack, add 1 to the wound roll.
Yep, this is going to be 30 points.
Yes, that is, if you can spend the yield points. That hits very hard. Dead Reckoning. Leagues of Votann model only. At the end of the turn, if the bearer is on the battlefield and you have spent 0 yield points in that turn, you can gain 1 yield point. Great, especially on turn 1.
Yep.
And it's at the end of the turn, so it's the end of yours and your opponent's. Okay, that's pretty incredible. You're just going to rack yield points up. How much is this?
I believe it's 10 points, and it goes on the Memnyr Strategist, so you can just have him loading up on your yield points.
Can't quite get to 7 on turn 1. That's or by top of 2. Whew! That's pretty impressive. Okay, Iron Ambassador. Leagues of Votann model equipped with an Autok pattern combi bolter only. Once per battle, when this bearer's unit is selected to shoot, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, spend up to 3 yield points. And until the end of the phase, add the number of yield points you just spent to the damage characteristic of the bearer's ranged weapons. That's very scary.
It's a 4-shot, 0 AP bolter weapon.
Yes, but damage 4, maybe. I guess.
It's 5 points.
Weird. 5 points, sure, whatever. Ancestral Crest. Leagues of Votann model only. Once per turn, when you target the bearer's unit with the command reroll stratagem, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, spend 1 yield point and reduce the CP cost of that stratagem by 1. So the bearer can CP reroll by spending yield points instead.
It's 15 points.
Okay, the first 2 are great. +1 to wound, reroll 1s to wound, very good. It gives you an outlet for extra yield points you don't need. And then extra yield points if you haven't spent any is crazy. That's nuts because it happens on every player turn and it can happen on turn 1. So that's an auto include if I've ever seen one. Yeah. Void Hardened. 1 CP. We're into the stratagems. 1 CP in your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after an enemy unit has selected its targets if units from your army have Fortify Takeover, which is if you have 7 or more. 1 League of Votann unit from your army that was selected as the target of 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, worsen the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1. Significantly worse armor of contempt.
Yeah, so it's void armor. It still is going to have the balanced data slate where it's not till the end of the phase, it's till the end of the activation.
Right.
And is only in Fortify Takeover. So it is worse in a variety.
I think you want to sit in Fortify Takeover, so for most of the game this is the same, but that's not ideal. Honor of the Hold, 1 CP, fight phase, 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army that's not been selected to fight. Each time you use this stratagem, you can spend 3 yield points. Select 1 enemy unit within engage range of your unit. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes a melee attack that targets the enemy unit, improve the armor penetration characteristic of that attack by 1. And if you chose to spend yield points, you improve it by 2.
This used to be +1 AP for each token you had on the target. Now it's spending yield points.
Yep.
So you do need to, for this detachment, you're going to need quite a bit of yield points.
Yep, but it gives you something to do with your extras, which is very interesting design space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it seems, AP 4 knives on the Steeljacks, I'm feeling it. Ordered Retreat, 1 CP in your movement phase just after a Leagues of Votann unit falls back. Until the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which you fell back. Very good.
Fantastic.
Ancestral Sentence, 1 CP in your shooting phase. 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot. Each time you use the stratagem, you can spend 3 yield points. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have sustained 1, and if you chose to spend the yield points, they get sustained 2.
Still a great stratagem.
You're going to
be pounding that on your big offensive units like the Steeljacks.
Sure. Everywhere.
And Thunderkyn.
Yes, it's very, very good. Are the Steeljacks natively sustained 1? They are, right? No.
In combat, the combat profile
is. The combat ones are, but the shooting ones aren't, and taking 36 shots and going sustained 2. I know that's one of your favorite things to do.
With dev wounds, baby.
Yes, that will be used all the time. Hunter's Mark, 1 CP in your shooting phase. 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army not been selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack, roll hit rolls of 1 and wound rolls of 1. Also,
yep, very solid. Very, very solid.
2 CP Reactive Reprisal in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has shot. If units from your army have Fortified Takeover. 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army that is selected to target 1 or more of their attacks. Your unit can shoot as if it was your shooting phase. Only that enemy unit when doing so, and can only do so if that enemy unit is an eligible target. So if they shoot you and you are in Fortified Takeover, you can shoot back. It is expensive. It is only in Fortified Takeover. Even so, your opponent is going to have to play around it the entire game.
Yep, and Uthar definitely helps with that CP economy.
For sure. If you never have to spend it because your opponent plays around it, who cares how much CP it is? Basically. And if your opponent ever gives you a good reactive reprisal, you're going to take it, and then it's going to suck. So, damn, this attachment's pretty good.
Yep, this is the updated index one. I think it is, on the surface, just a very good, well-rounded detachment like the index was. Sometimes the index gets split out where all the different rules go in all sorts of different places. Most of the same rules are here. There's some extra qualifiers or additional benefits, but pretty much it's very similar.
Yeah, it seems good. It's very good, honestly. It has 2 incredible enhancements. It has a good detachment rule, and it has good stratagems. It's a
genuinely good detachment.
Genuinely very good detachment. Jealous as a Black Templars player. Oh, we had the Gladius, but whatever.
Next up, we have the Persecution Prospect. So their detachment rule is assailed from every angle. Leagues of Votann units from your army have the following ability: Guerrilla Adepts. In your shooting phase, just after this unit is selected to shoot, this unit can use this ability. If it does, select one enemy unit that is not a monster or vehicle. Till the end of the phase, attacks made by models in this unit can only target that enemy unit. So you're restricted. You can only target that enemy unit if you use this ability, and only if it's an eligible target. And after resolving those attacks, if one or more of those attacks hit that enemy unit until the start of your next shooting phase, the enemy unit is assailed.
Assailed?
This simply labels that unit for the purposes of this ability and some enhancements and stratagems. So we're going to look out for that key term, assailed. If that unit is already assailed, so if you have already assailed something, until the start of your next shooting phase, it is also pinned. So your first unit shoots and assails a unit. The second unit uses this ability and shoots everything at the same unit. They're now going to be pinned. While a unit is pinned, -2 to its move and -2 to its charge rolls.
That's when I love to make an enemy unit -2 to move and charge, is when I shoot it with 2 units and they're not allowed to split fire.
When you're really shooting it.
when you shoot it with 2 units that aren't allowed to split fire, that's when I want it to be a little slower and not, dead.
All right, enhancements. Eye for weakness. Leagues of Votann model. Each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack that targets an assailed unit, you get +1 to wound.
Oh, yeah? They become assailed after you're done shooting?
After the first unit has assailed.
Okay, so it's not like you shoot, they become assailed, and you get +1 to wound.
Yep. So this will be your second activation or whatever.
Interesting.
In which case, you're trying to kill them with +1 to wound, and then their debuff doesn't matter.
The pinned thing doesn't matter regardless. Come on.
Writ of Acquisition. In your shooting phase, after the bearer's unit has shot, you gain 1 yield point for each assailed enemy unit hit by one or more of those attacks to a maximum of 3 yield points.
Okay.
So basically, you've assailed a bunch of stuff, then you split fire with the next unit, and then it tries to go ahead and so you won't pin people, but you'll get a bunch of yield points back. Okay,
that's pretty cool, actually. You just have a random unit with a character that split fires 4 ways and just, boop, pick up a bunch of yield points.
Surgical Saboteur. In your shooting phase, after the bearer's unit has shot, you pick a monster or vehicle unit hit by one or more of those attacks, and until the start of your next shooting phase, that unit is pinned for -2 to move to charge.
You can't... Okay. What? Oh, sure. All right.
Nomad Strategist. Once per battle, at the end of your opponent's fight phase, if the bearer is on the battlefield, it can use this enhancement. If it does, you can spend up to 4 of your yield points. Select 1 Hernkyn unit from your army, and for every 2 yield points you just spent, select up to 1 additional Hernkyn unit from your army. You can remove those units from the battlefield and place them in strat reserve. You cannot select a unit that is within engage range of 1 or more enemy units, except if they're assailed. Then you could. So this is basically...
When do you do this?
This is end of your opponent's fight phase, so it's like the Hernkyn bikes. So just imagine the bikes, right? They're going to go up into reserve. There's a couple qualifiers, so you can spend up to 2 yield points for each target, up to 4, so you can pick 2 additional things to go back into reserve. And they can be the Kapricus defenders or the Yaegirs or the carrier. So those are the only units that are Hernkyn.
This is once a game or once a turn?
Once per battle, you can use this.
I mean, that's good.
So you can basically redeploy the defenders is what you're going for. And when you do so, you can pick things that are, if their enemy unit is assailed and engage range, you can actually get out of that combat.
Okay, this detachment's super weird.
Very weird.
Very weird. Okay. Interesting. You're going to take that enhancement. It's very good. Once a game, being able to just pick a bunch of stuff up, put it
Definitely
back in the
spamming
reserves.
defenders in this one.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Adaptable Avarice, 1 CP. Start of any phase, if units from your army have fortified takeover. You pick a Leagues of Votann character unit. Each time you use this stratagem, you can spend any number of yield points. Once you have done so, if you have 6 or fewer yield points until the start of your next turn, units from your army have hostile acquisition instead. So it's a way, if you're in fortified takeover, to get yourself back to the hostile acquisition.
Is that it?
Yes, that's what that does.
Okay.
It means if you, let's say you stacked up 12 yield points, you're never getting back to hostile acquisition, you could with this stratagem.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I just don't want to be in hostile takeover.
Well, then you're not going to use it, Jack.
I guess I won't use it.
Frontier Momentum, 1 CP, your movement phase. You pick a Hernkyn unit that has not been selected to move yet. When you advance, you flat 6 advance. You add 6 to your move characteristic.
Okay. There's assault on anything?
The shotguns on the Pioneers.
Wow.
The Mater autocannons.
Incredible. All right. Okay. So far, not winners.
Exposed Flaws, 1 CP, your shooting phase. 1 Hernkyn unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Each time you use this stratagem, you can spend 2 yield points. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, if you spent yield points during use of this stratagem, and or if the target is assailed, you get to reroll wounds. That's quite solid.
Okay.
You know, a bike unit, a full bike unit, rerolling wounds.
That is very good. What was the targeting restriction?
It is a Hernkyn unit that you have to select.
So basically, it does have to be the bikes, basically.
Yeah. The defenders as well, if you go for the volume of shots profile.
That's not bad. It's listen, if it was the Steeljacks, that's a whole nother conversation.
Only Hernkyn. Ranger Tactics, 1 CP, your shooting phase, you pick a Leagues of Votann unit. Till the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, if that attack targets an assailed unit, and or if your unit has the Hernkyn keyword, you can get full rerolls to hit.
Okay.
So those 2 stratagems are quite good.
Yeah, rerolls to hit and wound, 1 CP each.
Yep.
Targeting 1 Leagues of Votann unit.
Hernkyn for the wound one, anything for the hit rolls, as long as you're targeting an assailed unit, or if you're Hernkyn, you can target anything.
Okay, all right. Interesting strats. Good strats, even.
1 CP, Claim Staker Reflex. Your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit ends a normal advance or fallback move. 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army, excluding artillery and vehicles, that is within 9 of the enemy unit. Each time you use this stratagem, you can spend 2 yield points. Your unit can make a normal move of up to D6, so this is the D6 reactive we had mentioned earlier on. If you spend the yield points, it's a flat 6.
Okay, so, and this can be on, what was the target?
Anything that's not an artillery or vehicle unit.
Okay, this is insane on the lone op guy.
For also
same
Steeljacks love this.
Yeah, Steeljacks love this. I mean, it's just a great strat in general,
Yep.
right? Flat 6 reactive is a tremendously good strat.
The only restriction here is that you can't embark in a transport.
No, I am ruined. Okay, you go behind the wall.
It's going to be fine.
Yeah.
This is very good.
Yes.
So the last 3 stratagems are genuinely very good. The last one is Dispersed Formation, 1 CP, your opponent's shooting phase just after they declare targets. 1 Leagues of Votann infantry or mounted unit from your army that was selected. Till the end of the phase, your unit has the stealth ability, and each time a ranged attack targets them, they get the benefit of cover.
Okay. So the first 2 strats sucked, but the last 4 are pretty solid.
They got some stuff going on. It's a very weird detachment rule. It's not great, honestly. And then the enhancements are relatively mediocre, I would say, besides the +1 to wound one.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think that
But
the
there's
strats to full reroll to wound is very good, and the flat 6 reactive, very good. The whole assailed mechanic feels like a lot more trouble than it's worth. It doesn't feel like it does anything.
It's not great.
Kind of. It feels like you have
It
to...
allows you to access some of the rerolls
Yeah,
more easily.
but also if you're using a Hernkyn unit, you can just kind of ignore that anyway. And like, is it worth firing all your guns at one target in order to give a second unit the ability to use a stratagem? Okay, as far as detachments go, not my favorite. But the flat 6 reactive on the lone op is like truly oppressive.
This makes me think of, I believe it's Talons of the Emperor from Custodes, where you're largely building a list around the power of this reactive move and like a couple other things.
Yes, that's Talons right there. Solid rules, I guess, in the rerolls, hits, and wounds department. But the lone op with their flat 6 reactive is, I cannot emphasize enough. I played with it with the Angelic Inheritors. It's like really nuts, but that's it. That's basically what you're working with. Isn't ideal. Next up, we've got the Delve Assault Shift. Cool names.
Berserk Detachment.
The Berserk Detachment. The detachment rule, Fury from the Delve. Chthonian Beserks from your army have Deep Strike. Okay. Sure.
You get to rapid them more effectively.
Slightly more effectively. Whoa, that's my detachment rule. That's my goat.
Could have been +2 strength, +1 attack. That would have been good.
Could have been a lot of things, actually. That is quite poor. But they get Battle Line, which means that you can actually have a detachment built around them. Because if they didn't get Battle Line, this detachment would be DOA, which it might already be. But that Deep Strike, not a great start to this detachment, I'll be honest. Delve Work Navigator. Leagues of Votann model only. In the reinforcement step of your movement phase, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, pick a friendly Chthonian Berserk unit visible to the bearer and then spend any amount of yield points. Return 1 destroyed model to that unit, and then for every 2 yield points you just spent, return up to 1 additional destroyed model. Wow, that's really good. Oh my god. It depends how fast you can get up in yield points. It might be that this is just never worth using. But if you get up to like 13 yield points, like if you can get yield points quite quickly, and you can once you're in like turn 2 on, you're up to like 13, you're just like, all right, I'm going to get 3 guys back every turn.
Now they have to survive because they are a lot less durable than they used to be.
If you take a 10-man, it is kind of annoying to kill the whole unit. If it's in cover, they get a 4-up for it.
Mm-hmm.
This is really cool. Because especially, this is not bounded, right? If yield points, if you can just get a lot of yield points, and you get up to like 20 or something, you can just return an entire unit, essentially. Not like the whole unit, but like you have 2 guys left in the character. Well, not even the character. It's just you pick a unit visible to the bearer. So if you can get up really high in yield points, you can just be like, you're a 1-man? No, you're a 10-man now. That is so cool. I just, I don't have high hopes for how...
If they're in front of your opponent's army, they're dead.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely like you get shot down to like 2 models behind a wall or something.
You can use them as a control piece now, which is interesting.
It is tough to kill 10 of these in 1 activation. I will say that. Mm-hmm. Very tough to kill 10 in 1 activation, then you can just heal back as many guys as you have yield points.
Says the guy with World Eater's Forge Fiends.
Okay, I've shot World Eater's Forge Fiends. World Eater's Forge Fiends probably will leave a guy or 2 alive. They probably will. They're not going to leave more than that. But they probably will leave a guy or 2 alive. And then you just heal back to full. It's like the Forge Fiend didn't even exist. You're probably not floating on that much yield points, but still. Multi-wave System Jammer. Leagues of Votann's model only. Once per battle in your movement phase, the bearer's on the battlefield. It can use this enhancement. If it does, select 1 friendly Chthonian unit that is in reserves, and until the end of the phase, for the purpose of setting up that unit on the battlefield, treat the current battle round number as being 1 higher than it actually is. So you can come in turn 1. Okay.
It's because you have Deep Strike, you can actually do it. Otherwise, Strat Reserve would have stopped you from going into dangerous places.
Yep. And you can't Rapid Ingress turn 1 because it's in your movement phase. Yep. You pick it.
It's kind of like the Space Wolves thing.
Yeah. You'll probably take it, but depends on the price.
Put pressure on immediately.
Quake Supervisor. Leagues of Votann model only while the bearer's within 3 inches of 1 or more friendly Leagues of Votann artillery units. We can kind of stop reading now. The bearer has the lone operative ability, and each time one of those artillery units makes a ranged attack that targets an enemy unit visible to the bearer, add 1 to the hit roll. Moving on. Pile Driver. Leagues of Votann model only. Each time the bearer's unit is selected to fight, the bearer can use this enhancement. If it does, spend up to 2 yield points, and until the end of the phase, add the number of yield points you just spent to the damage characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. That is pretty solid. I don't think there's a lot of guys who have a lot of attacks, which is where you'd really want this.
Yeah, so the main guy you'll probably put this on is the Einhyr champion, because they'll come in with the charged mortals, And then you can have the Darkstar Axe at 6 attacks.
At what is it, like 622?
632.
632, so you can make it 634. Okay, that's scary. That is like
you'll probably put it on him.
Yeah, that's a good enhancement. Cyber Stim Infusion. 1 CP, fight phase. 1 Berserk unit from your army not selected to fight. Each time you use this stratagem, you can spend 2 yield points. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. And if you spent yield points, you can reroll the wound roll. Okay. Yeah,
good.
Very good. Chthonian Berserks with reroll wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's okay. They hit really hard. Good to know. I'm not seeing a lot of yield point generation here, which is kind of an issue. But we'll see what the economy of that army looks like. 1 CP, Unstoppable Force in the fight phase. 1 Leagues of Votann unit from your army not selected to fight. Gets to pile and consolidate 6 inches. Cool. Very rarely going to be useful. Sometimes it is. If your opponent tags like the end of a 10 model unit, you can all pile in, all fight. Okay, I'm not going to be sad about it in a melee army.
Yeah, if they're too clustered up and you kill the first layer with 1 unit. But it's rare.
Rare. 1 CP, Augmented Assault. In your movement phase, 1 Chthonian Berserk unit from your army not selected to move. Each time you use this stratagem, you can spend up to 2 yield points, and you add X to the move characteristic of models in your unit, where X is the number of yield points you spent, and your unit is able to declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced.
That's the money strat.
Okay, these strats are pretty good, as long as you have the yield points to make them work. Interesting thing, I think you need to be in the defend ground one less than ordinary.
Yes.
Because going in and fighting things on objectives is a lot more reasonable than shooting things on objectives, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting, but still I think you want your guys to be -1 to wound. Either way, damn, +2 inch. That is a hell of a strat. +2 inch range, +2 inch move, and advance and charge.
And you're going to have reroll advances and charges with hostile acquisition.
Yes. So yeah, you'll go super far. Oh wait, hold on. One little issue. It's in your movement phase, and you pick a unit that's not been selected to move. So you can get out of a transport and then select them for the strat and then go. All right. I was worried for a second it would be like you have to choose it in the command phase, but no. So that is a very, very good stratagem. Tectonic Fracture. Your shooting phase just after a Chthonian Earthshaker unit from your army is shot. Sure. Kind of want to move on to the next strat as it is. Each time you use this stratagem, you can spend 2 yield points, select 1 enemy unit hit by 1 or more of your unit's attacks, -2 to that unit's move characteristic, and if you spent yield points, -2 to charge. You're not taking Earthshakers, does not matter. Weave Work Buttress. 1 CP in your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit is selected its targets. If units from your army have hostile acquisition, 1 Leagues of Votann infantry unit from your army that was selected as 1 or more of those attacks, -1 to wound. Solid, compensates for probably not being in Fortified Takeover as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hidden Access Ways. 1 CP into your opponent's fight phase. 1 Beserks, Warriors, or Yaegirs unit from your army not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Remove your unit from the battlefield and place it into strat reserves. And then Beserks can deep strike.
Which helps with the mobility of the army.
I think this detachment is just a little too focused on the deep strikey part of it. That part, I don't care about. You have +2 move, advance and charge, reroll advances and charges as a thing your army does for a CP. So I'm a lot less concerned about being able to deep strike into position. I will say 1 unit rapid ingressing is interesting. This is not as bad a detachment as I was expecting going in.
It's solid. It is the best combat detachment that we have.
Yeah, by far. I think it's like, man, I think it needed something to buff the damage output or the durability.
The wounds one is quite nice, but it needed like some plus attacks or some other secondary thing.
I'm saying for the detachment rule, right? It needed something to help those data sheets out. And then I think there should be like an enhancement that lets you join a character to a unit, which would be kind of interesting to a unit of Beserks. As is, this detachment's not actually bad. A lot of this stuff costs YP and doesn't generate it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you just sit in hostile acquisition because you like actually +1 to hit against objectives and +1 to hit while on objectives are the same thing for a melee army. They just are the same thing. And reroll advances and charges is pretty good. It's probably worse than -1 to wound, but then you just don't have to maintain 7 YP and you can just spend them as fast as you get them.
Yeah.
And that means you can actually fund all these strats. And these strats are crazy if you can fund them all.
Yeah.
Especially if you can build up a float of like 10 or so and just heal a Berserk unit from half to full that you can see. Very interesting. If you don't try to make this work, I will try to make this work.
I think you want 3 of the Memnyr strategists. I think you want a couple of those guys floating around on the objectives, trying to get you as many, because you want to spend a lot of them. And the other thing is, there are going to be circumstances where you don't have the +1 to hit because your opponent is off an objective in a staging point. But what you can do with the 10-man is just leave 1 model on the objective, so that in Fortify Takeover, so that you'll have +1 to hit for the unit. You attack the staging point, and then it doesn't, and then you can go back to hostile takeover.
These guys move so fast, and with reroll wounds, they actually hit very hard. And it doesn't matter that you can't lead them, because Uthar can give them free strats within 12. So the free strat every single turn basically is going to be +2 move, advance, and charge.
And the other thing about Fortify Takeover is that you get the +1 to your fight on death as well.
Oh, right. So there's a little...
I think you want to do switching between them.
Yeah, you probably do want to switch between them. Interesting. Wait, so you can be in Fortify Takeover and then spend a bunch of YP, drop down.
They change in your command phase, so you'll have to wait until the next end of your command phase.
But point being is, if I wanted to be in Fortify Takeover, I can hit the threshold, be in Fortify Takeover, spend all my YP to do crazy, ridiculous things.
And you'll still get that benefit until the next command phase.
Okay, all right. This is incredibly cool rules design. I think the army or the detachment rule is a miss, and if they had done something...
Just put 1 extra rule in there.
Put 1 extra rule. They get Deep Strike, and when you kill an enemy unit in melee, you get a YP or something. Or maybe they get +1 attack on the charge or something. And this would be like my favorite detachment they've ever made. As it is, this is designed... I can't emphasize enough that I think this detachment is super cool.
The one thing that you're really looking for detachments is it's great to have a generic like all-rounder like the first one, but you also want detachments that add unique playstyles and strategies, and Votann used to have the Cronus Hegemony, which is the combat one. This one tries to revitalize that, and I think it does it pretty well.
Yes, and specifically it only gives the buffs to Beserks, but you still take the normal units, right? You just take the normal units and you take like 6 units of Beserks.
Mm-hmm.
Man, this is just designed so cool. There's so many like intricate moving parts to this detachment that I do not know how to evaluate it. I think it's good because it has good rules in it. Damn. Yeah, if you don't try to make this work, I will try to make this work.
I'm going to try and play all the different things. Maybe not the Prospector one, but...
yes, well, that one's kind of bad.
Next up, we have Brandfast Oathband. This is the transport detachment. Its detachment rule is mobile sensor relays. Leagues of Votann transport units from your army have the following aura ability: fire-based control. While a friendly Leagues of Votann infantry unit is wholly within 6 inches of a transport, ranged weapons equipped by models in that infantry unit have +1. So think about it. So we have a bunch of transports. We have the Kapricus carrier, the Sagitaur, the land fort, and with infantry units, we have the Arkanyst Evaluator, who shoots pretty hard, loves getting access to +1, where you don't have to actually... You can get +1 on the non-once per game or once per turn guys. Then you have Thunderkyn, benefit a lot from this.
Yes.
You have access to the Steeljacks, who benefit a lot from this. Get some good shooting units that want to be near transports.
It's very helpful. I'll be honest, I was still kind of thinking of the combat detachment when you were talking about that.
I see that. But +1 on some of these units is
very good.
It's quite good.
Very good.
Okay. Enhancements. Tactical Alchemy. Call model only. In your command phase, if the bearer's unit is within range of 1 or more objective markers you control that are not within your deployment zone, you can spend 1 yield point. If you do, on a d6, on a 4-up, you get 1 CP. So it's a way to manipulate yield points. You can basically, you have to run a call, so I don't think this will be seen. And I think Uthar is just, I'd rather have the guaranteed CP reduction.
Uthar's really good.
Than spending a call plus the enhancement.
For sure.
Second, we have the Trivarg Cyber Implant. Goes on a Leagues of Votann model. In your shooting phase, each time the bearer's unit is selected to shoot, if it disembarked from a transport this turn, if you spend 2 yield points, till the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in that unit have sustained 2. This is very impactful when now that you can put a Memnyr strategist with Steeljacks, or you can put 6 Thunderkyn with an Ironmaster in a transport, the land fort. You can drop them out a full 6-man unit and be +2. It's pretty good.
That is very good, yeah.
Precursive Judgment, call model only. While the Bearers unit is wholly within 6 of one or more friendly Leagues of Votann transport units, you can target the Bearers unit with Fire Overwatch for 0 CP, and hits are resolved on a 5+.
But the unit I want to Overwatch with already
is going to do it with the Memnyst.
Yeah, it's going to do it with the Memnyst and is going to hit on force.
Yeah,
so.
I don't want to run the call for this. Signature Restoration. Iron Master model only. Each time a friendly Leagues of Votann model is repaired using the Bearer's Forge Rod expertise ability, that's the D3 heal or flat 3 with the Ironkin assistant in the unit, you get an additional lost wound. So you go to healing flat 4.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
Mostly matters for healing land forts, is what it is. Not great. All right, secure positions. First stratagem. End of any phase if units from your army have hostile acquisition, so the first part of the army rule, 1 Leagues of Votann transport unit from your army. 1 Leagues of Votann unit embarked within your transport can disembark. When doing so, models in that unit can be set up anywhere on the battlefield wholly within 6 of your transport.
And can be set up within engaged range of enemy units?
Does not allow that.
Sure, whatever. It was not something you would do in the past. I just wondered if it was the same as all the other transport detachments they've written.
This is a crazy stratagem because there's some restrictions on here that don't exist. First of all, it's the end of any phase. Your turn, your opponent's turn. So they go try and contest an objective that has a Sagitaur on it. You just drop out the troops and put 10 OC on the objective. So another thing you could do is potentially go ahead and try and drive up a land fort with some Beserks inside. Go ahead and use this strat to get them out. And normally you wouldn't be able to charge after disembarking. But, Mr. Jack...
Yeah, so you can here, because as long as you don't do it in the movement phase, you're fine, because when it checks to see if you're allowed to charge after disembarking, it asks, did you disembark from a transport that has made a move this phase? So if you move up, wait until your shooting phase, disembark, you have not disembarked from a transport that made a move that phase, so you're still eligible to charge. That is crazy! You can do it in your opponent's turn reactively. What you can do, was it start of phase?
It's end of any phase.
End of any phase. What you can do is you can disembark Steeljacks to see an enemy charging unit and then overwatch them, because they disembark anywhere within like a
6 inches,
16-inch pie plate, and then just get line of sight to whatever's trying to charge and gap them out of existence.
Your opponent goes for a charge, and then you're like, cool, I'm going to disembark this heroic threat now, and just heroic it in.
Yep.
At the end of their, at the end of the charge phase.
Yeah, Steeljacks,
end of the shooting phase. You have to do.
So you just drive up, you disembark Steeljacks 6 inches forward in your shooting phase, and then you just charge. Mm-hmm. So Steeljacks move what, like 10? Wait, can you advance the transport and do this?
1 Leagues of Votann unit embarked within your transport can disembark. It has no qualifier on what that transport did in the movement phase. This is the single best stratagem here, and it's mostly because the normal restrictions you would expect aren't, which may be intended, but
might not be
intended. But this is a crazy stratagem. There's so many different things. You can set up a screen that wouldn't have existed, in your opponent's end of your opponent's shooting phase after they have shot their things. Normally, that's when you would clear screens. Well, you just introduce a screen that didn't exist.
There's multiple reasons
to
do
objectives.
This strat in multiple different phases, and you are limited to one use of this strat per phase.
Yep.
So you can drop them at the start of your opponent's charge phase and just blow them up. You can deep strike them, or you can drop them out of a transport at the start of their fight phase to take an objective away. You can disembark them at the end of the start of your shooting phase in order to just shoot. Right? You just advance a transport up, start of your shooting phase, get out, shoot. Start of your charge phase, get out, charge.
The one thing we're going to want to look for in this detachment is, because this stratagem revolves around being in hostile acquisition, you actually will need to spend yield points to stay down. So how many ways can we spend yield points to actually go back into hostile acquisition?
And this is a massive beneficiary of the rules change. I'm glad I could pioneer it for you as the World Leaders player. This is a massive beneficiary of the rules change to how charging works. It's a slight one. It usually doesn't matter. It got FAQ'd because of Khorne Daemonkin. But you used to have to be within 12 inches of an enemy unit at the start of the phase in order to be eligible to declare a charge. And so that meant if in the charge phase you dropped in a squad of Bloodletters, you couldn't, unfortunately, charge. Right? If you had impact mortals or whatever that dropped them in, you can't do it. That got removed. I don't think that was intentional, that was like denying units that pop in the charge phase the ability to still charge. Now, as I said, you can rock up with a transport or advance up with a transport, get out in the start of the shooting phase, shoot, and then the start of the charge phase, get out and still be able to charge, which lets you use it double tapped in your turn for shooting and charging. In fact, you can use it twice because you can advance, get out in the shooting phase, get out in the charge phase, charge with both of them. This strat's ridiculous, man. This is one of the best strats in the game, and I'm not kidding.
Yep, 100%. Completely changes the mobility of the army. Obviously, you're also getting the sustained out of that when you start shooting and blowing up your opponent. It's very, very good.
I have no personal insight into this, but this feels like a stratagem that can get changed because it feels like a stratagem that is good because it maybe the consequences were not thought through of leaving restrictions off of this stratagem.
It's a good stratagem, period. It's a broken stratagem when you can do all the things that probably shouldn't exist in the game.
Yes.
Or at least some of those should be restricted. But this, for now, you want to run Uthar so that you can spam this.
Yeah. Well, no, you can't, right? You have to target units in the transport.
End of any phase, 1 Leagues of Votann transport unit from your army. You target.
Oh my god, you target the transport. So yes, you're taking Uthar regardless, but yes, you're going to spam this as many phases as is relevant, and that's probably going to be 3 a battle round, which is crazy.
So good.
Yes, you can very easily just charge your opponent from like 20 something inches away with like Steeljacks. You can very easily it's crazy. The amount of uses you have is only limited by your imagination.
Bastion running. 1 CP, your movement phase. 1 Hekaton land fortress from your army that hasn't been selected to move yet. Till the end of the phase, each time your unit makes a normal or advanced move, it can move through terrain.
Sure.
So you can combo this.
Yep.
Move, advance it through terrain, straight towards your opponent. Obviously, you wouldn't be getting some of the damage of the land fort, which would be a downside. But if you just charge directly inside their army...
you're okay with that. Yeah, you're fine with that, actually.
1 CP, Illuminated Priority. Your shooting phase just after a Leagues of Votann unit... Your shooting phase just after a Leagues of Votann vehicle unit from your army has shot that vehicle unit. Select an enemy unit hit by 1 or more of those attacks. Till the end of the phase, each time a Leagues of Votann infantry model from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, you get reroll 1s to hit against it. So this would be your Arkanyst Evaluators would benefit, your Thunderkyn would benefit, the Steeljacks. So it's a different way to get reroll 1s. Inexorable Efficiency, your shooting phase, you pick a Leagues of Votann unit from your army. Till the end of the phase, your unit is eligible to shoot in a turn in which it fell back. So fall back and shoot, very, very nice. 1 CP, Opportunistic Escalation, your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has shot, if units from your army have hostile acquisition. 1 Leagues of Votann vehicle unit from your army that isn't a land fort, that was hit by 1 or more attacks, your unit can make a normal move of up to D6, so D6 reactive for some of your vehicle units. 2 CP, Vengeance Flare. Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy unit has shot, 1 Leagues of Votann infantry unit that was hit by 1 or more of those attacks. Each time you use this stratagem, you can spend 2 yield points. Select 1 friendly Kapricus or Sagitaur unit within 6 inches of your infantry unit. If you spend the yield points, you can also pick a land fort within 6 of an infantry unit. The selected unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase, but must target that enemy unit and only if it's an eligible target. So basically, I pop out my Thunderkyn, I shoot at my opponent, they then try and shoot my Thunderkyn unit, the land fort can shoot back at them.
Pretty good. 2 CP is a little pricey, especially since Uthar is going to be on disembarking duty.
Yeah.
But it's good to threaten your opponent with.
This detachment's pretty damn good.
It's pretty damn good. Now, I will say, if that strat gets FAQ'd at all, the detachment goes from crazy to just solid.
Yeah, it feels like a very good detachment. We have a lot of transports. We have a lot of very good infantry units. You're looking at units like Thunderkyn and Steeljacks being some of our best shooting units. They benefit tremendously from this one, and I think it synergizes with kind of where the Codex is pushing you. So I think it's a very, very good detachment.
Yeah, that seems incredible. Yep. All right, one more. All right, finally, we have the Hearthfire Arsenal. Cool name, honestly. Mm-hmm. All right, detachment rule, optimal application. At the end of your command phase, you gain 1 yield point for each objective marker you control that is not within your deployment zone and that has either an Ironmaster or Memnyr Strategist model from your army within range of it, to a maximum of 2 yield points gained from this detachment rule per turn. In your shooting phase, each time a Brokhyr, Ironkin, Steeljacks, or Arkanyst Evaluator unit from your army is selected to shoot, you can spend 1 yield point if you do until the end of the phase. Each time all in that unit makes an attack, roll a hit, roll a 1. So it gives you yield points and gives you an outlet for those yield points. Solid. And it's at the end of your command phase, so there's not really a way to do it in turn 1, unfortunately. Enhancements. We got Far Strider node, Ironmaster or Memnyr Strategist model only. Models in the Bears unit have the Deep Strike ability. Yep, you're probably going to take one of those to bring in some Steeljacks or whatever.
Yep. Or Thunderkyn.
Or Thunderkyn. Calculated Tenacity, Ironmaster or Memnyr Strategist model only. While the Bear's leading a unit, add 1 to the OC characteristic of models in that unit. Solid. Kind of okay, not as good as the previous one.
Yep.
Mantle of Elders, Memnyr Strategist model only. Each time the Bear's unit is selected to shoot, if you spend yield points using Optimal Application Detachment rule, when doing so, you can roll 1d6, and on a 2-up, you essentially refund it.
Very nice.
Yep. Graviton Vault, Ironmaster model only in your shooting phase after the bear is shot, and in the fight phase after the bear has fought. Select 1 enemy monster or vehicle unit hit with 1 more of those attacks. Until the start of your next turn, that enemy unit is suppressed. While unit is suppressed, it is -1 to hit.
Why do they keep forcing this?
I don't know. Why do they keep giving my melee detachments precision in combat for a CP? Like, I don't know. They're just trying to make it work. Stratagems, we got Unwavering Accuracy, 2 CP. In your shooting phase, 1 Thunderkyn unit that has not been selected to shoot. Until the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes an attack, you can ignore any roll modifiers to the ballistic skill, the hit roll, the wound roll, or the AP.
It's quite good. 2 CP is pricey, but Uthar does make these things more applicable.
Yes, I did think it was going to stop at ballistic skill and hit roll because they've been trolling
AP
you with
is
that.
big.
AP is huge. Wound roll's a little less so, but it does come up.
Yeah, there's plenty of -1 to wound.
First Concern, 1 CP after a Brokhyr, Steeljack, or Evaluator unit has shot. You target that unit, and if your unit remains stationary, it can make a normal move, and crucially, can get back in a transport with that.
Quite good.
Quite good. You have to remain stationary, which is a little sketchy.
Remain stationary is tough, but this is where you like pop out in an angle, blow away something where you can't really be responded to, and
Delayed Fire Rounds, 1 CP. Your shooting phase, just after a Steeljack, Brokhyr, or Evaluator unit has shot, you pick an enemy unit hit by 1 or more of those attacks, other than monster or vehicle. And until the start of your next shooting phase, each time that enemy unit makes a normal advance or fallback move, roll a d6 for every model in that unit. And on a 1, they take a mortal wound. This is pretty terrible.
Yeah, it's very situational.
Just kill them in your shooting phase, and you won't have to worry about that.
Yeah,
This
and the last one are
do
very
a couple chip
situational.
wounds. Yeah. Wall of Steel, 1 CP in your charge phase, just after a Steeljack's unit from your army ends a charge move. Each time you use the stratagem, you can spend 2 yield points. Pick an enemy unit within engagement range, not monster vehicle again, and roll a d6 for every model in your unit, rolling 2 additional d6 if you spent yield points during the use of the stratagem. For every 4+, they take a mortal wound. And to be clear, it appears it is not 2 extra dice per guy, it's 2 at the end. So if you charge with a 6-man, it's 6 dice on 4s, you do mortals. And if you spend 2 yield points, it's 8 dice on 4s.
Yeah.
Kind of inefficient.
Yeah,
but
very situational again.
It's okay. Impact mortals are fine. Preventative Purge, 1 CP. Your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit ends a fallback move. Thunderkyn or Steeljack unit from your army can shoot as if it were your shooting phase. When doing so, models in your unit can only target that enemy unit, and each time a model in your unit makes an attack, -1 to hit. So this is Overwatch that isn't called Overwatch and is only -1 to hit instead of 6s.
Yeah. It's a way to basically do the Overwatch play with the Ironjacks or the Steeljacks, and then do a play with this unit, possibly Thunderkyn.
Yes, or you just have 2 Steeljack units, or the same Steeljack unit twice, honestly.
Yeah, possibly.
Just blow away 2 enemy units. This is crazy into Eldar, because this is not named Overwatch. And so that means when Fugan and 10 dudes pop out and go 1 CP, no Overwatch, you're like, oh, don't worry, I won't do that. I'm going to preventative purge you. And then they go and just kill them all. It's very good into Eldar, actually. But it's good in general. Like, double Overwatch is very good.
It starts adding up.
It starts adding up, and if you are in the thing where you're the Fortify acquisition, then it cancels out, and you just hit on 4s in Overwatch, and you hit on 4s with this, and you just do it twice a turn, and it's like their movement phase is your shooting phase.
Precision out all those characters. Death wounds.
Cogitated Need, 1 CP, end of your opponent's movement phase, 1 Steeljacks unit from your army. Unit can make a normal move. When doing so, your unit must end that move as close as possible to the closest objective marker. Okay. All right, that's the second best strat in this book. It's not quite as good as the Disembark that lets you do whatever your little heart desires, but man, is it close. It is a normal move at the end of your opponent's movement phase. Just to be clear, very reasonable that you have a unit near an objective. So you know what stratagem that reminds me of? It's a dead stratagem now. Stratagem no longer exists for good reason. Phantasm. If you say Phantasm to anyone who's played early 10th edition, they will start screeching at the top of their lungs. It will be a painful sound, but they will make it because Phantasm was gross. It was essentially you make a move at the end of your opponent's movement phase. They've already deep struck all their units, they've already moved all their stuff, and then you just move. It was crazy because what you could do is if they exposed a unit, you could move out of line of sight.
Mm-hmm.
And if they didn't expose a unit, and this was the strong one, you could move on to the objective. And then if they expose a unit, you just kill whatever unit they exposed. If your opponent is not at all times pointing guns at every objective on the board, you go, "Are you done?" And then they say, "Yes." And then you just walk onto the objective and score a 15. That's bananas.
Luckily, this unit is a lot slower than most Eldar units are.
Phantasm used to be 7 inches. They just move 6.
This is 5.
The Steeljacks are moving 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you move 5. That being said, the ability to see where your opponent has moved to and then move,
mm-hmm.
Yes, it has a lot more restrictions than Phantasm. It is a forced move in a certain direction. But you can set this up.
The threat of it is really good.
The threat of it's massive, especially because, like, oh my god, I want to get closer to them so I can charge them. Well, then you move and charge. But I think the big one is going to be, it's the catch-22. You force your opponent to either point guns at the objective, in which case you get to shoot them. Great. All right. That's free value, right? I get to shoot my opponent's guns for free. And if they don't do that, you just get to move on to the objective and score a bunch of points. That is insane. Not quite as good as the bonkers Disembark strat, just because that strat actually has no limitations. But this is a close second, honestly. Being able to move after you've seen where your opponent is broken. Like, actually broken. So we'll see how it pans out.
All right, so overall, I think the last 2 detachments, I still prefer the transport one. I think the buff that you get in general is stronger than the one you get in this detachment, and it interacts with more data sheets overall, because you're both rewarded for having all the transports plus all the infantry units, which you're going to want to run. Overall, I feel like transport detachment and the first one, the updated index detachment, are probably the 2 strongest ones off the bat because they benefit the most variety of units. And then probably this one and the combat one are in the next tier. And then I think the Prospector one is the weakest so far.
Yeah, the Prospector one is a little more intricate than it really needed to be, especially with not enough payoffs. Like, the melee one is very intricate, but it has a ton of payoff. And that's really good.
And if we combine our knowledge of the data sheets, the things that I'm really positive about are that a lot of the new units are essential to the modern playstyle of Votann, and this playstyle is going to be very different from what we saw previously. The old archetype, Votann only had a limited amount of data sheets. They had 1 detachment, then a second one with Grotmus. You basically played very, very similar. There wasn't a lot of diversity in the army. I think now, with this codex, there's a tremendous amount of diversity of what you could go for, and I think our options for the wider latitude of data sheets are pretty darn good. Yeah. I think there's a couple stinkers that you're probably not going to see, like the Earthshaker one, the Cthonian Earthshakers, the Hearthguard, I think just aren't going to be there. The Einhyr champion, maybe in some niche scenarios. But for the most part, things like Thunderkyn, Steeljacks, the Land Fort, the Kapricus Defenders, I think they're going to be seen in a lot of different list archetypes. I think the Pioneers still feel a really important role. The Warriors do. We have a variety of characters that are actually impactful now and not just little add-ons to hold enhancements. We can actually do things with characters. This book is not going to have one particular powerful playstyle, but I think it'll have a couple different ones, and those are going to have to be solved, which ones they are.
This is a really well-written book. I think there's parts of it that aren't, right? As you mentioned, some of the data sheets are just complete trash. That is what it is. Unfortunately, it's not a complete winner, right? But generally very well-written. So we just reviewed Black Templars and Grey Knights, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that does not feel like this book at all. Those books had like 4 or 5 data sheets each that were really, really good at doing one thing in particular, right? In Black Templars, it's that they reroll everything, and then that translates to damage, I guess, right? It's a very good army. It's very fun in the Gladius, but it's kind of what it does, right? Mm-hmm. It has a character that gives you reroll everything, and it gives you a tank that rerolls everything. You take those, and then you do a bunch of damage. Cool. Grey Knights kind of have a couple units that work together.
Teleporting shenanigans, they hit hard in combat. That's kind of their thing.
Yeah, synergy is not really there.
It's not like Thousand Suns where you have layers of psychic, but here with yield points and with the many different ways to utilize them, both in switching which part of the army rule you get, and also then how different stratagems work. This is a book designed to get a lot of value out of a person who is very well experienced with the army. The more experience you have, the better player you are, the more you will get out of Leagues of Votann as an army, which is generally a very well-designed thing.
Yes, it fixed the biggest complaint I had with Votann, which wasn't that it was... Votann was just such a middle-of-the-road army, honestly. And they fixed that dramatically, right? Like, they took an army that, power level-wise, I have no idea where this is going to land. It could be bad. It could be very good. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be bad. I don't think it's going to be bad. I don't know how good it is, though, right? Could be solid, could be very, very good, anywhere in between. I doubt it's very, very good, but it's somewhere in that good ballpark power level. Previously, it was a solid army. Nothing crazy. No sharp edges on it. It's rounded everywhere. It was vanilla ice cream. It was very bland. It had some stats that moved up the table, that shot you. It scouted. It's high toughness. That's kind of it. Very bland army. Not a lot. I'm shocked Tim Schneider can stick with the army for a while because it was boring. It was just a really boring army. And now it went from one of the most boring armies in the game to one of the most interesting and intricate puzzles they've designed for an army. And I want to commend them on that. I really do. It makes me... I'm not a Votann player. I've never played Votann, ever. And I'm still looking at the army being like, oh my god, that's really cool. Mm-hmm. And yes, a lot of their data sheets got worse. The damage output looks like it got worse. That seems to be a trend. I have no idea where to put these guys, really, other than cool. I'll put them in cool tier.
Yeah, I think what will ultimately happen is that this army is going to feel inconsistent in a variety of specific scenarios. Your opponent attacking the objectives, Votann love that. Whether I'm going to be walking onto them or my opponent's getting onto them early, Votann will still feel like a very similar army. But as soon as you have to kind of dig your opponent out of terrain features, areas where you can't really shoot that effectively, areas where you have to mobilize a lot farther than you need to, Votann don't have great consistent tools for doing that, and I think that's where they might struggle on those type of boards. I also think that with the meta skewing towards heavy durability, Votann's offensive output to try and kill those units is probably, without the +1 to wound, going to end up being quite inconsistent.
They don't have a lot to replace that.
They have a lot of weapons that are, like Orcs are top of the meta. Wow, Votann they got tons of firepower. That's going to feel pretty good. You're looking, or GSC or something like that. But then you're looking at, big T11 units with invulns, with a lot of wounds. They're not going to kill things like, when I looked at something that was +1 to +1 wound, it was going to die. How many units it was going to take was the question, but it was going to die. It just might take more units than I wanted. Now, things can swing more wildly, but I think the detachments, especially the first one and the transport one, will help smooth out the variance. And I think this army will feel less like, here's my 3 big damage units. They'll pretty much carry my army every single game, to here's the 5 units that are going to act in concert in these different phases to make sure that the things I need to kill are dead. And I think that will feel much more interesting to play because every game will feel different instead of every game feeling the same.
Yes. Also, every detachment is different in like a very interesting way. And partly that's because a lot of the units are very similar, right? The army is flush with transport, so the transport detachment essentially buffs the whole army.
And infantry units that are powerful.
Exactly. And then the basic detachment just gets you a bunch of yield points and then spends them in a bunch of ways, which is interesting. Even the combat detachment, you take the normal stuff, you just take a bunch of extra Beserks, and the Beserks are better to compensate. I think the army is going to be insane into, as you were saying, any army where strength 6 damage 1 is good. They will obliterate people because Steeljacks are probably the best 2 data sheets in this book. 30 points a model, they're tough as nails, and they output a lot of attacks, either in shooting or in combat, but they're all at strength 6 AP 1, which is not ideal, and damage 1 as well. Not ideal into a variety of targets, so you have to compensate. I think you have to take the Magna Rail Cannons because you just need something to crack tanks. Super interesting codex. Super interesting.
Yeah. I think we're both on the same page where we really like the design diversity of the army for the most part. And then some of the lacking aspects might end up needing to be tuned up to be a bit more consistent, because previously Votann was inconsistent from each activation. Sometimes you'd roll 2 6s to hit and you're like, cool, 8 shots on the beam cannon, this is dead, first activation feels awesome. But then you would roll 2 misses and do nothing with an activation and feel terrible. I think here more things will do damage consistently, but you need more things. And I think it'll take a while for people to adjust to the army rule and the control over objectives and which one it is and spending the yield points. So I think this is an army that people will get better with over months, and it might feel very difficult early on.
I think the win rate's going to tank early because it's very complicated. And I also think that people, how do I put this? Mid-table warriors are going to have a little bit more trouble with this, getting this to go where previously, very simple army. You just kind of rolled stats at your opponent, and you can do that in a good way or you can do that in a bad way. But the floor and ceiling of it were tighter. And now I am certain if you don't know what you're doing with this, it's going to really suck for you.
Yeah, I think the gap between the absolute best players and the average Votann player will be dramatically larger than it was before.
But you'll have a lot more cooler tools to work with, so you'll probably be happier doing it.
Oh, yeah. Buri and Uthar in the same list, just beating people.
They're going to be in every list, just a power couple.
So cool.
So yeah, it's really neat. Honestly, what draws me to the Berserk detachment, other than how absolutely mega cool it is the fact that you do have a unit that's damage 3 full rerolls to end, right? And so you can look at a knight or something and crack it. Just like walk in and just do a crap load of damage to it. And so from range too, which solves that damage issue to some extent. I have no idea what it's going to end up. I've said that. It's very awesome. Well done on the design space for this one.
And I plan to play many of the different detachments here. I kind of rotate through them over the next couple games that I play. So if you are excited about the Codex, please do give us a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about us. All of that massively helps us grow. In addition, leave a comment below letting us know what you're most excited about, which data sheets, which of the detachments, what are you going to put on the table. I'm going to be reading all those comments, and I'd love to hear from you. In addition, if you want to see more games, there's a game right now in the War Room with the new Leagues of Votann being played. There's going to be a lot more post-game analysis. There's going to be list breakdowns and eventually some Know Thy Enemies on the different detachments. So if you're excited about Votann, you want to learn more, check out the War Room at thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a 3-day free trial, and on top of that, you get access to our awesome international Discord community. I'll be in there in the Votann channel talking shop pretty much every day as I try and explore this codex. It's going to be a great time to learn, meet new friends, and come up with some new ideas and concepts. So hopefully you enjoyed this review. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Games Workshop for allowing us to review this book. I'm very excited for what they've done here, and we'll see it on the table very soon. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you all next time.
Bye-bye.